Chapter 2017. Yu Jun has already returned to the city in the sky. He told us that he is going to undergo his tribulation. His comprehension of the will of heaven and earth has already reached perfection. He should have done it in Star Moon City, but he felt that it would be safer to do it in the city in the sky, Sikong Chuyu said. That's great. I taught them how to cultivate the leakless true body. It won't be difficult for them to pass the trials of wind and fire. We just have to wait and celebrate for him. Night Sorrow's hand that was holding the teapot trembled. He was the happiest when his children achieved something. I didn't expect Yu Jun to be the fastest. I thought Yi Xiaolei would be the first to reach the imperial realm after Xiao Luo, but she was stuck at a bottleneck, Datura said. Among Night Sorrow's 5 children, Yi Xiao Luo was the most talented, followed by Yi Lingxi, Yi Xiaolei, Yi Yu Jun, and Yi Qingyan. Yi Lingxi was still young, so she hadn't cultivated for as long as her brothers and sisters. It doesn't matter who enters the imperial realm first. They all have the potential. Their children and grandchildren have their own paths, Night Sorrow said with a smile. This was good news for Night Sorrow. The 9-domain avatar that was guarding the 9-domain world in the Sky Ceiling Palace had returned to the city in the sky. He drank a jar of wine with his son and sent him to the lake to undergo the trials of wind and fire. He waited at the side. Yi Yu Jun bowed to his father and went to undergo the tribulation. Night Sorrow waited at the side with the Yi family. Although he knew that there wouldn't be any danger after cultivating the leakless true body, Night Sorrow didn't want to leave. He wanted to tell his son that no matter what happened, his father would always be by his side. Father, have a cup of tea. Second brother will be fine. Yi Xiao Luo brewed a pot of tea and went to Night Sorrow's side. When you were undergoing the trials of wind and fire, I wasn't by your side. You had to bear it all by yourself. Night Sorrow turned around and patted Yi Xiaoluo's shoulder. All these years, he had always felt guilty toward his family. A father's love is like a mountain. Even if you weren't by our side, we could still feel your care and love and care. I feel lucky to be your son, Yi Xiaoluo said. Yi Shang went to the wooden boat by the lake and sat down. He poured tea for his father and mother who had rushed over. Father, we're proud to be your children, Yi Qingyan said. Night's children. All. Yi. That's what you think. Actually, in father's heart, your happy life is the most important. Hurry up and get married. Whether father becomes a grandfather or a grandfather first, it's all good, Yi Shan said with a smile. Father, you're going to be a grandfather soon. After Yu Jun becomes an emperor, he'll probably bring up the topic of marriage immediately. Zine, is that right? Asked Yi Qingyan, looking at Qin Ziyin, who had also been waiting. Qin Ziyin nodded. She understood Yi Yu Jun. In Yi Yu Jun's heart, his father and mother were his role models. He had always hoped that he could achieve something and give the people he loved a stable life. Becoming a sovereign was Yi Yu Jun's wish for himself. Okay. After Yu Jun becomes a great emperor, I'll arrange it. Night Sorrow smiled and nodded. Yi Yu Jun's trials of wind and fire didn't bring him any danger. After the trials, the people in the Sky City naturally celebrated. During the celebration, Night Sorrow talked to Yi Yu Jun about marriage. Father, I don't plan to make it a big deal. It's meaningless. I've discussed it with Zine. We'll just have the parents of the 2 families sit together and host a family banquet. It'll be simple, Yi Yu Jun said. P.H. Original version _premiere. Yes. Father, you don't have to worry about us, Qin Ziyin said. She knew that Night Sorrow had been busy with cultivation and the matters in the celestial realm. Chuyu, what do you think? Night Sorrow looked at Sikong Chuyu. Sikong Chuyu nodded. She respected her child's opinion. The Yi family didn't like to be ostentatious. Night Sorrow didn't have to worry about the rest of the matters. Someone went to prepare some etiquette. Right after Yi Yu Jun's wedding, a war broke out in Tianhuang City. It was the biggest war in half an era. Mo Yutian and Mo Zhantian of the Demon Wing clan led their troops to attack Tianhuang City. The 2 sides engaged in a fierce battle on the Nirvana Ocean Bridge. The outcome of the battle was tragic. Mo Yutian and Mo Zhantian were defeated by the City Lord and King Yawu. The 100 Races Alliance and the army of the Demon Wing clan both suffered heavy casualties. When Night Sorrow heard the news on Samsara Island, the battle had already ended. 3 out of the 30 armies of Tianhuang City had lost their men. Some of the elders of the 100 Races Alliance had also fallen. The Nirvana Ocean Bridge was also filled with the corpses of the Demon Wing clan. The city lord and the others didn't understand why the Demon Wing clan suddenly went crazy and attacked Tianhuang City. King Wu called Night Sorrow into the tent and discussed the battle situation with Night Sorrow. Yi Shang got some news from King Wu's doppelganger. Mo Zhantian of the Demon Wing clan had suddenly risen. He was very strong and had surpassed Mo Yutian. He was on par with the city lord of Heavenly Desolation. Mo Zhantian has been keeping a low profile. He has merged his original body with his doppelganger. This is to prepare for the God-destroying tribulation. Currently, only the city lord of Tianhuang City has done this in the celestial realm. Uncle always thought that there was no need to rush, but it seems that he has to take this step ahead of time. Uncle will not be here in the future. The doppelganger of the Grand Elder will replace him, King Wu said to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow nodded. He knew that the situation was very tense. King Wu and the others had to make some decisions. King Wu left. Night Sorrow felt a little heavy. After merging his soul, he would only live for one era if he didn't pass the God-destroying tribulation. What are you thinking about? Thinking about this war? Don't worry. You don't have to worry about the current situation. The Grand Elder came to the edge of the stronghold and accompanied Night Sorrow to look at the broken sky mountain. The war has brought a lot of damage to the celestial realm, Night Sorrow said. Yes. In order to win the war, the city lord of Tianhuang City and the city lord of Yiwu made the choice to merge their souls. They gave up the path of reincarnation. They planned to resist the God-destroying tribulation and leave the chance of reincarnation to me. This was a choice they had no choice but to make, the Grand Elder said in a low voice. Yi Shang's heart shook as he turned to look at the Grand Elder. When the original body and doppelganger merge, the soul will merge with the original body. Once the soul and the spirit become one, there will be no chance of reincarnation. I hope they succeed, but the chances are slim. In all the records, there is no mention of passing the God-destroying tribulation. As far as we know, the one who came closest to completing the God-destroying tribulation was an ancestor of the Demon Wing clan, but he didn't pass it completely. Why was the Demon Wing clan able to gain a foothold in the celestial realm? It was because the Demon Imperial City was the divine sea world of the ancestor of the Demon Wing clan. We couldn't break in at all. The Ren Huang of the last reincarnation was amazing. He fought his way into the Demon Wing City several times, but he was beaten back. There was nothing we could do, the Grand Elder said in a low voice. Chapter 2018. The celestial realm has gone through 1,000 reincarnations, and each reincarnation is as tragic as this. Too many ancestors of the human race and the 100 races fought for the stability of the celestial realm and died in the long river of history. There are some records of this. Let me tell you. The Grand Elder's voice was low. In the beginning of the celestial realm, the most powerful race was the celestial Luo clan. They ruled the celestial realm for several reincarnations. In order to fight against the demon-winged clan, the entire celestial Luo clan died in battle. In the second era, the Constellation clan was extremely powerful. They led the 100 races of the celestial realm to fight against the demon-winged clan for more than 10 reincarnations. They also died in battle until the last person was left. In the third era, the Inferno clan was the strongest in the celestial realm. They also led the celestial realm to fight against the demon-winged clan for several reincarnations. The result was the same. However, they had descendants. The current Fire Spirit clan was a descendant of the Inferno clan. In the fourth era, the ruling race of the celestial realm was the Moon Spirit clan. The result was the same. In the fifth era. In the sixth era. The most prosperous era of the celestial realm was the ninth era. In history it was called the Celestial Realm era. At that time, the ruling race of the celestial realm was the Blood Moon Azura clan. They were close to the human race and were known as the strongest fighting race. At that time, the celestial realm was almost unified. However, they could not take down the demonic imperial city. This was because the demonic imperial city was the spirit sea of one of the ancestors of the demon-winged clan. At that time, the 100 races of the celestial realm realized that cultivators who had not passed the God-destroying tribulation could not break the defense of the demonic imperial city. They could not destroy the foundation of the demon-winged clan in the celestial realm. Even if they could break in, their cultivation would be suppressed. They could not destroy the orthodoxy of the demon-winged clan. The demonic imperial city was connected to the deserted world. If the demonic imperial city could not be destroyed, then the demon-wing clan could continue to pose a threat to the celestial realm. For countless years, the sages of the 100 races of the celestial realm have been working hard for this goal. Countless talented sages have passed the god-destroying tribulation in order to destroy the demonic imperial city. The spirit of resistance has been passed down from generation to generation. Once upon a time, the celestial realm emperor Ji Dao, the celestial king, the fire emperor Lai Yan, the golden dragon king Shirtian, and the Azura queen Yi Tianxin have all fought their way to the demonic imperial city. They fought until the end of their lives for the stability of the celestial realm. Our reincarnation is the last era of the celestial realm. My ancestors were from the Ji Dao family. My ancestor was the Ji Dao heavenly emperor, the human emperor of the human race. I am ashamed to face my ancestors, said the Grand Elder. We may only be a page in this long history book, but we want to be that glorious page. Even if we die in battle, we have to tell the future generations that we participated in the battle against the demon-winged clan. We have been to this world. We have to leave a mark that belongs to us, said Night Sorrow. Set the universe, control reincarnation, control the beginning, immortal walk the world. This is the prophecy left behind by our ancestor, the Extreme Path Heavenly Emperor. The cultivators of the celestial realm have been working hard for countless years. The Golden Dragon King Shirtian and the Shura Empress Yi Tianxin both tried to break through the god-destroying tribulation. Yi Tianxin was the closest to success, but he failed in the end. The Yawu Mountain in the celestial realm is the head of the dragon veins in the celestial realm. It is where the body of the Golden Dragon King Shirtian was after he fell. It has been guarding the fate of the celestial realm. After Yi Tianxin fell, he left behind the Wasteland Tower. The Wasteland Tower has been passed down from generation to generation. A few reincarnations ago, when the demon-winged clan attacked the Wasteland Tower once unleashed a sword attack that killed the strongest member of the demon-winged clan. According to the history books, it was a sword chi left behind by Yi Tianxin. Your master's sword Dao is the Shura Empress Yi Tianxin's sword Dao, said the Grand Elder. Night Sorrow waved his arm. I didn't know that the Yi clan had someone so powerful. Although it has nothing to do with me, I am still a little excited. This is the last reincarnation of the celestial realm. However, the 9-domain world has also risen. The rise of the 9-domain world means that the 100 races of the celestial realm have a way out. Outside the Demon Mountain's cave, Mo Yutian's face was gloomy because his plan had failed. The demon-winged clan's attack on the Wasteland Tower was part of his plan. He wanted to divert the forces of the celestial realm from the Reincarnation Island, so that he would have room to do something on the Reincarnation Island. Now that he sensed the aura of the Grand Elder on the Reincarnation Island, he still couldn't act recklessly. In addition, Mo Yutian also saw how powerful the forces of the celestial realm were. Mo Zhantian's strength was very strong, but he was still suppressed by the city lord of the Wasteland Tower. His original body was also at a disadvantage when fighting King Yawu. In addition, the two Grand Elders of the Demon Ancestor Hall were also unable to win against the Grand Elder. As for the battle between ordinary cultivators, both sides were equally matched. Mo Yutian was clear of the situation. This time, only a portion of the demon-winged clan's forces were sent out. Similarly, only a portion of the celestial realm's forces were sent out from the celestial realm. The divine beasts of the celestial realm also didn't participate. The situation was very uncertain. In addition, Mo Yutian was also clear that the reason why the formation in the Demon Mountain's cave couldn't be activated was because the forces of the celestial realm had already set up a formation halfway up the mountain. This was also the reason why Mo Yutian started the war. However, the forces of the celestial realm didn't withdraw. His plan couldn't be carried out. After thinking for a while, Mo Yutian decided to change the location of his development. He knew that he couldn't do anything if he stayed on the Demon Mountain. Mo Yutian had already dismantled the formation foundations in the Heaven Vault. Setting up a large-scale formation consumed a lot of spirit stones. He had to keep them. After keeping the Saint's spirit stones used to set up the formation, Mo Yutian looked at Xiang Dragon and Sua Yuan. You two have done well this time. The base didn't succeed because of other reasons. Now think about it. Are there any other suitable places to set up a base? The void purple light snake has always been in the outer regions of the Broken Mountain. They didn't enter the inner regions of the mountain. We can try there, Xiang Dragon said. After thinking for a while, Mo Yutian nodded. He felt that this was one of the feasible methods. Not long after Mo Yutian left, the dragon language came looking for Night Sorrow. She had sensed something strange. Is it far? Night Sorrow asked. It shouldn't be far. It should be a bloodline connection, the dragon language said. Gather the troops and set off. Night Sorrow said to Long Jin, who had also rushed over. He knew that the dragon language belonged to the black dragons. If there was a bloodline connection in the Devil Mountain, it wasn't a small matter. He had to go check it out. After Night Sorrow gathered the troops, the Grand Elder who noticed the commotion also came over. He didn't know what Night Sorrow wanted to do and was a little worried. He wanted to ask about it. Night Sorrow explained the situation to the Grand Elder. Leave half of the troops here to guard this place. This seat will follow you guys and take a look, the Grand Elder said. Look at the Y2 version F. Chapter Asterisk. On the Section Z hashtag. After the battle at the Night Moon Manor, the Black Dragons had been cleaned up. The Black Dragons were the Black Dragons of the Celestial Realm. Hence, the Grand Elder had to pay attention to the matters of the Black Dragons. Under the guidance of the dragon language, the group walked in circles for a while and arrived at the entrance of the Devil Mountain Cave. Brother, I feel like it's here. The dragon language pointed at the cave and said, It seems like the secret of the Devil Mountain also exists here. Everyone, be careful. Night Sorrow said and entered the cave. Chapter 2019. Night Sorrow entered the cave, followed by the Grand Elder, the First Army soldiers, and the members of the God-slaying team. There were some low-level spirit stones on the mountain walls inside the cave, emitting light, but it wasn't dark. As they moved forward, the situation inside the cave was also displayed in front of everyone's eyes. There were damaged array bases, all of which were new traces, and dragon language was moving towards one place. Night Sorrow and the others followed behind. If dragon language had a target, then her senses would be in front. As they moved forward, they reached the end of the cave. Standing in front of the mountain wall, dragon language thought for a moment, looked around, and punched the mountain wall. With the shock of dragon language's punch, the mountain wall collapsed, and then another small cave appeared. In the middle of the cave, there was a huge dragon egg, but it was damaged, missing the upper half. Long Yu walked over, and Night Sorrow followed. Everyone saw that there was a skeleton inside the eggshell. It was a skeleton without any blood essence and had already dried up. It was the skeleton of a black dragon with scales stuck to the skeleton. There was no flesh or blood left. Brother, Grand Elder, this skeleton is my relative. Dragon Language's voice was a little choked. Night Sorrow reached out and patted Dragon Language's shoulder. He understood a little. The dragon egg and dragon language in front of him were the two sons of the strongest black dragon king in the previous reincarnation, a pair of sons that had not hatched for a long time. Of the two sons of the strongest black dragon king in the previous reincarnation, one of the dragon eggs was taken away by the Demon Wing clan, and the other was dragon language. Dragon-headed man, I swear in dragon language, either you die or I die, this hatred is absolutely irreconcilable. Dragon language's hair fluttered, and his eyes were full of anger. Night Sorrow was also extremely angry. Although the details were not clear, the general situation was already clear. All of this was related to the Demon Wing clan and the dragon-headed man. This skeleton is called Mo Yuanjia, a member of the Demon Wing clan in the previous reincarnation. All of this should be his reason. As for why he brought the Dragon King's son here, it's not clear. Perhaps it was because the space was unstable after the war, or some unknown means he came here after the war. It was also because he took this dragon egg that the black dragons fell for all these years. Grand Elder pointed to a soulless but lifelike Demon Wing clan elder beside the dragon egg. Yi Shang and Long Yu could understand that the last battle in the previous reincarnation cycle was very intense. The space was shattered and the space passageways appeared. Some of the demon-winged clan were left in the heaven realm. Mo Yuanjia, who controlled the Black Dragon clan and took away the dragon egg, should be a group of demon-winged clan. Dragon language shook her fist, and destructive energy appeared, shattering Mo Yuanjia's skeleton. Dragon language was a branch of the destruction attribute. This punch was not something that Mo Yuanjia's skeleton, who had not cultivated Taoist rhymes, could withstand. After destroying Moung's skeleton, Dragon Language stepped forward and put away the broken dragon egg. I don't know if you are my elder brother, sister, or younger brother or sister. I'll take you back to the Black Dragons. Dragon Language's voice was a little choked, because that was her close relative. The reason why our stronghold's formation is unstable is also known. Under the lead of the dragon-headed man and the snake-headed man, Wuxia came here to arrange a large formation. Because the two defensive arrays are relatively close to each other and both have a component that stabilizes the void, a conflict has arisen. As long as he activates the array, our array will become unstable, and so will his. That's why he's preparing to migrate. That's why Draconic sensed it after he left, said Night Sorrow. This also means that in the past, he has been hiding here all this time and has not done anything. This is also the reason why the Demon Wing clan started a war against Tianhuang City. He wants us to feel a sense of crisis and give up on this place to reinforce Tianhuang City, the Grand Elder said. Night Sorrow nodded. As long as one was not stupid, some things could be figured out by thinking about it. Dragon Language sensed this. Otherwise, we wouldn't have found this place. We also don't know what Wuxia has done and what he wants to do. Long Jean said in a low voice. Dragon Language's relatives were harmed, and he felt the same way, so he was also very angry. Little Purple, tell the Void Purple Light Snakes to expand their area of activity. If they are attacked, report to us, Night Sorrow said to Little Purple, the Void Purple Light Snake King, who was coiled on his arm. Little Purple's body trembled and gave a response. It also conveyed the message to the Void Purple Light Snakes. And unspecified currency the Spiritual Tree Elder also passed the order to the Stone Tree Clan Patriarch who was beside him. Since Wuxia had left Demon Mountain, he would find the next suitable base. Wuxia will definitely be on guard against the Void Purple Light Snakes. Therefore, the Void Purple Light Snakes will only discover Wuxia and the others when they are moving. In the past, when there were no bases, Wuxia's soul power was strong enough to avoid the detection of the Void Purple Light Snakes. When there is a base that cannot be avoided, he will choose to kill them. Wherever the Void Purple Light Snakes are attacked, they will be there. Also, whether we can find them or not will depend on the Stone Tree Clan's arrangements, Night Sorrow said. The Grand Elder, the Spiritual Tree Elder, and the Stone Tree Clan Patriarch all nodded. Night Sorrow was analyzing the current situation. Then, everyone checked the cave. Night Sorrow picked up Moung's storage ring and opened it. After opening Moung's storage ring, Night Sorrow breathed a sigh of relief. He had been wondering why he did not find anything left behind from the battle between the 100 Clan Alliance and the Demon Wing Clan. Now, he understood that everything was in Moung's hands. There were so many weapons and Holy Spirit stones. Night Sorrow handed the storage ring to the Grand Elder. This should be left behind from the last reincarnation war. After looking at it, the Grand Elder was extremely shocked. This was because the number of weapons left behind was very large. It would be of great help to the 100 Clan Alliance because they were the weapons of the ancestors of the 100 Clan Alliance. After exploring the cave thoroughly, Night Sorrow and the others returned to the base. Back at the base, Night Sorrow set up the transmission formation. The base of the formation in the cave had been destroyed by Wuxia himself, so there would be no interference with the operation of the base's formation. It would be stable in the future and there would be no problem using the transmission formation. After Night Sorrow set up the transmission formation, the original body of the Grand Elder came from the Infinite Desolation City. He brought the transmission crystal clone of the Infinite Desolation City's transmission formation and the transmission crystal, which directly connected the transmission formation. While Elder Ling Shu was guarding the defensive array, he was also guarding the teleportation array. In addition, the Elder of the Infinite Desolation City's law enforcement clan, Qin Chenjia, also came. The establishment of a base on Reincarnation Island was a big deal. It had to be safe. The original body of the Grand Elder and his clone did not leave. They both stayed in the base because he was worried that a clone would not be able to restrain Wuxia. Night Sorrow's clone stayed in the base. Sometimes, he would bring the team out for a walk. The original body had been cultivating in the time acceleration. His main research direction was the limitless attribute. His limitless attribute was at 50%, which was the lowest achievement among the attributes. Other than that, he wanted to advance the destruction, void, and space-time attributes by analogy. Night Sorrow also hoped that his other attributes could reach 91% so that he could attempt the Heavenly Tao Emperor's Tribulation. Chapter 2020. Mo Yutian's soul power was powerful. He avoided the void purple light snake's detection and went to the inner part of Broken Sky Mountain, where the human emperor and the demon ancestor fought. Although some traces were gone, Mo Yutian could still feel the aura of the battle. He bowed towards the place where the demon ancestor fell. The demon ancestor was the strongest expert of the demon wing race in the previous reincarnation. He was a 9 Emperor Tribulation expert and the most likely to pass the God-destroying tribulation in this reincarnation. However, the human emperor passed the God-destroying tribulation early and he had to stop him. Once the human emperor of the celestial realm passed the God-destroying tribulation, it would be a devastating disaster for the demon wing race. When the human emperor passed the tribulation and the demon ancestor came, the two didn't just fight, but also the God-destroying tribulation at the same time. Because of his interference, the demon ancestor's God-destroying tribulation came early. Originally, the demon ancestor had a higher chance of passing the God-destroying tribulation than the human emperor. However, when his soul was attacked by the tribulation, the human emperor suddenly gave up on his own tribulation and used the God-destroying tribulation to attack the demon ancestor. This caused the demon ancestor to suffer 2 God-destroying tribulations and the human emperor's attack, causing his soul to be destroyed. Similarly, the human emperor who gave up on his own tribulation also died. That battle was the pinnacle of the previous reincarnation. Ancestors above, our race is still working hard. If we can't take down the celestial realm, then we will take down the next supreme realm. Our generation might not be able to, but the young generation of the desolate world has already risen, Mo Yutian muttered. He was the direct descendant of the demon ancestor and was born in the last era of the previous reincarnation. Because of his outstanding talent, he received guidance from the demon ancestor. After paying respects to the ancestors, Mo Yutian moved everyone out of his spatial treasure. This was once an ultimate battlefield. The energy here isn't very stable. You guys look around and find a suitable place, Mo Yutian ordered. Night Sorrow often led the team to battle. When he had nothing to do, he would cultivate his spear arts in the stronghold. The Grand Elder wasn't stingy with his guidance to Night Sorrow. Qin Chenjie also often communicated with Night Sorrow. She admired Night Sorrow more. Outside of cultivation, Night Sorrow and the Grand Elder would ask Qin Chenjie about cultivation knowledge. As for the cultivation path after peak Emperor rank, Night Sorrow was becoming clearer and clearer. Entering the Heavenly Tao's 9 the Arch Tribulations was the cultivation of the Tao. Most importantly, it concerned one's future direction and the foundation of the Tao. Night Sorrow had comprehended his own Tao. It was the Tao of merit that cultivated one's character and virtue. This was recognized by the heavens. The Merit Emperor's merit position was the recognition of the Heavenly Tao. In addition, the cultivation of the taboo attribute reincarnation Tao was also fixed. What troubled Night Sorrow the most was the arrangement for the other taboo attribute. Should he cultivate it or not? The Grand Elder and Qin Chenjie couldn't give him an answer because no one knew what would happen if he had 2 taboo attributes. Would he be punished by the heavens? No one could give him any suggestions. Night Sorrow called Long Jin and Tianyu to his tent. Brother Xiaofan, what's the matter? Tianyu asked after sitting down. Although Tianyu had married Yin Yanxiao, he was still the same and hadn't matured much. You two sit down. I have something to tell you. Don't look at it from the perspective of caring for me. Think objectively and put yourself in my shoes. Yi Shang took out 2 jars of wine and gave them to Long Jin and Tianyu. Then, he sat down and started talking about the primordial attribute. Actually, it's not that complicated. According to the lifespan calculation, no matter how severe the Heavenly Tao tribulation is, it will only come once an epoch, right? Moreover, Brother Xiaofan will have to endure the God-destroying tribulation after an epoch. What's there to worry about? Tianyu said. Cough cough. Tianyu, take it easy. However, what you said is reasonable. Long Jin glanced at Tianyu because Tianyu's words were too direct. Haha. I've been enlightened. In any case, I'll have to endure the God-destroying tribulation after an epoch. Some of the tribulations won't come until I reach an epoch's lifespan. If I want to cultivate, I'll cultivate, Night Sorrow said after pondering for a moment after hearing Tianyu's words. He understood that sometimes things were very simple, But the more he thought about it, the more complicated it became. Brother Shersan, are you really going to cultivate? If something happens, Nian Xiao will strangle me to death. Seeing that Night Sorrow had made his decision, Tianyu was somewhat regretful. He was also afraid that something would happen to Night Sorrow. It's too late to regret now. If you want your days to be peaceful, then pray for me. Night Sorrow smiled and raised his jug of wine towards Long Jin and Tianyu. The three drank and chatted. Soon they mentioned Mo Yutian. Samsara Island's defenses are so tight. Where did Mo Yutian go? There hasn't been any news about him. Long Jin muttered. Most of the areas on Samsara Island have stone trees and void purple light snakes. How can there be empty areas? If you were Mo Yutian, where would you go to find a place to do something? Night Sorrow asked. We won't consider ordinary areas because the Celestial Realm's Heaven Wasteland Army and void purple light snakes can find them. If we want to look, we'll look for areas that are difficult for soldiers to detect and that the void purple light snakes won't pay attention to. For example, the caves on Demon Mountain. As for the specific location, it's hard to say. Long Jin said. Dangerous areas. Night Sorrow muttered. He stood up and paced back and forth in thought. Broken Sky Mountain. Night Sorrow turned around. The three of them said the same place almost simultaneously. The more dangerous the place, the safer it is. Broken Sky Mountain is an empty area that we've explored so far. The Heaven Wasteland Army can't enter it. The void purple light snakes didn't go there before. Now that they're exploring other areas, they won't pay attention to that area. Night Sorrow was a little excited because this was definitely the right guess. Then, Night Sorrow told Little Z to let the void purple light snakes search the area of Broken Sky Mountain. V. Look at Question Edition plus C Chapter 1. Q above. After making the arrangements, the three brothers began to drink. Night Sorrow was not in a hurry because a large formation that could stabilize and guard the void could not be set up in a short time. Then, the three brothers went to the campsite of the god-slaying squad and drank and chatted with dozens of brothers. What made him so happy? Qin Chenjie came to the Grand Elder and asked. He's too young and confused. Maybe he figured out something, the Grand Elder said. The soldiers of the First Army were not willing to see Night Sorrow, and the members of the god-slaying squad drinking and chatting. Flower Without Words, by Lingling, Zhuodong, and the others came directly to them. Commander, are you serious? We're all your brothers. Why are you drinking and watching us? Haha, you're thinking too much. Brothers, take out your inventory. We're not going home until we're drunk. Night Sorrow laughed and shouted at the members of the god-slaying squad. The soldiers of the First Army and the members of the god-slaying squad were drinking. The other two armies of the Heaven Wasteland Army were very envious. In the Heaven Wasteland Army, only the First Army was allowed to drink. Chapter 2021. Now that the First Army soldiers are full of vigor and battle intent, it seems like we need to give them more burdens. The 100 races of the Celestial Realm lack such vigor and vigor. The Grand Elder shared his thoughts. There's no problem with his ability. His actual combat strength has already surpassed some of the elders. However, he's too young. When others think of him, their first impression is that he's young and talented. Will there be voices of doubt? Qin Chenjie voiced his concerns. No. Apart from the initial impression, if you think about his experiences after he made his debut, his contributions to the Celestial Realm have already surpassed some of the elders and even the law-enforcing elders. Retrieving the remains of the human sovereign and obtaining the desolate war halberd. Any one of these things has a huge impact on the 100 races of the Celestial Realm. The Grand Elder shook his head. During the peaceful days, Night Sorrow was waiting for news. 1 month later, Little Purple told Night Sorrow that 2 void purple light snakes had disappeared after sending out signals. They were killed after discovering the target. Night Sorrow asked Little Purple to confirm the location. He knew that the void purple light snakes could kill and even threaten Emperor Realm cultivators. However, it was normal for them to be killed when facing an expert like Mo Yutian. This time, Night Sorrow didn't plan to act alone. It wasn't easy to track down Mo Yutian. He wanted to tell the Grand Elder about this and see if the Grand Elder had any opinions. Moreover, he would be courting death if he led the team alone. Great. It wasn't easy to track them down. This time we have to plan. We'll cripple them in one go and solve the root problem of the reincarnation island once and for all. The Grand Elder tapped the ground with his coiling dragon spear. Then I'll go gather the men and wait for the Grand Elder's instructions. Knight Sorrow went to the campsite and gathered the members of the First Army and the God-slaying team. Grand Elder and Qin Chenjie also arrived at Knight Sorrow's campsite. Yi Shang, you'll be in charge again this time. You'll have to lead the team. Mo Yutian has a way to hide himself, but I don't. I want to enter your spatial treasure. Take me there, said the Great Elder. All right. Knight Sorrow nodded. He knew that this was a sign of trust. The Grand Elder had his own spatial magic treasure, but he didn't say anything about entering his own spatial magic treasure. But entering his spatial magic treasure was a sign of incomparable trust. The same goes for me. I'll follow your arrangements. Qin Chenjie also had the same attitude. Knight Sorrow brought out the 8-dragon cauldron and placed it beside him. Next, his soul power surged and sent the soldiers of the First Army and the members of the God-slaying team into the 8-dragon cauldron. Good job. The Grand Elder gave Knight Sorrow a thumbs up. It was the ability of a commander to make everyone in the team trust him without the slightest bit of doubt. The Grand Elder knew that he couldn't do this. No commander in the Heaven Wasteland army could do this. Qin Chenjie's eyes were also full of admiration. Not to mention his ability, this was a display of his personal charm. Then I'll have to trouble you two elders. Knight Sorrow's soul power wrapped around the Grand Elder and Qin Chenjie, and sent them into the 8-dragon cauldron as well. However, the three of them were stunned because they didn't succeed. Haha, you have to take this first. Your spatial magic treasure can't fit it. The Grand Elder took out a cyan ball and sent the coiling dragon spear into it. Then, he handed it to Knight Sorrow. The cyan ball was his spatial mini-world, and its level was very high. Qin Chenjie also smiled awkwardly. He took out a treasure that looked like a jade slip and put the weapon into it. Then, he handed the jade slip to Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow also understood what was going on. It wasn't that the Grand Elder and Qin Chenjie were resisting, but that the two of them had treasures that were of a higher level than his 8-dragon cauldron. Knight Sorrow knew that this was normal. The Grand Elder and Qin Chenjie had cultivated for countless years. To have their current achievements, their luck was also amazing. It was reasonable for them to have obtained some heaven-defying treasures. After putting the treasures of the Grand Elder and Qin Chenjie into his belt, Knight Sorrow looked at the two of them. Grand Elder, Elder Qin, after leaving my 8-dragon cauldron, you can take back your treasures yourselves. Then, Knight Sorrow sent the Grand Elder and Qin Chenjie into the 8-dragon cauldron. Then, under Little Purple's guidance, they began to fly. At this moment, Knight Sorrow couldn't enter the 8-dragon cauldron by himself. With his time and space attribute at the peak Emperor rank, Knight Sorrow's speed was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, he was thousands of miles away. Knight Sorrow told Little Purple to determine the approximate area. He had to plan ahead. Mo Yutian was too strong and could easily be detected. In this operation, Knight Sorrow didn't just want to destroy the foundation of Mo Yutian's array. He also wanted to heavily injure his team. The people that came this time were on a completely different level compared to the last time. When they were still a distance away, Little Purple told Knight Sorrow the approximate area because another Void Purple Light Snake was killed. Enter the chaotic streams of the void. We are getting closer. He should be alerted. After Knight Sorrow finished speaking to Little Purple, he waved the blood-Qilin evil punishing spear and broke open the spatial barrier. Then, he brought Little Purple in and quickly flew. As they got closer to the target area, Knight Sorrow also informed the Grand Elder and Qin Chenjie inside the 8-dragon cauldron to prepare for battle. Knight Sorrow increased his speed. He knew that at the final distance, they would definitely be discovered by Mo Yutian. The faster the better. He didn't want to give Mo Yutian any time to react. The Grand Elder and Qin Chenjie were also highly focused because the battle could happen at any moment. Broken Sky Mountain Range was undulating. In a relatively flat area not far from where Ancestor Mo fell, Mo Yutian set up another array foundation. After inspecting it, he let out a breath. At this moment, he frowned because he realized that the Grand Elder's sensing ability had disappeared. This was very abnormal. This meant that the Grand Elder had either left Reincarnation Island or used a special secret technique to hide. Why was he hiding? Obviously, he was targeting Mo Yutian. Mo Yutian fell into deep thought. He had already stayed here with his people for a long time. The defensive array had already begun to take shape. After a while, it would be ready to be used. If he retreated now, all his efforts would be wasted. However, if he didn't retreat, there would be risks. It wasn't just the disappearance of the Grand Elder's sensing ability that made Mo Yutian vigilant. He had already killed 3 void purple light snakes. The void purple light snakes were the spies of the people of the celestial realm. Mo Yutian knew this because when he attacked Night Sorrow last time, he knew about the existence of the void purple light snake king, Little Purple. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Just as Mo Yutian was hesitating between retreating or continuing, Night Sorrow and the others arrived. While Mo Yutian was looking at the void, Night Sorrow's soul trembled in the chaotic streams of space, transferring the Grand Elder and Qin Chenjie out of the 8-Dragon Cauldron. Chapter 2022. As soon as the Grand Elder appeared, he charged towards Yutian Mo while his doppelganger charged towards the Xiang Dragon. Qin Chenjie's target was Zhi Yuan. Among Yutian Mo's team, the strongest were Yutian Mo, Xiang Dragon and Zhi Yuan. Night Sorrow also appeared. He casually summoned the members of the First Army and God-slaying team out of the 8-Dragon Cauldron and said, "Get into formation and fight, don't let anyone escape." The First Army and God-slaying team had an absolute advantage in terms of numbers. They also had enough people to fight in formation. Lin Yun led a team to chase after Yutian Mo while Long Jin, Zhuodong and the rest led a team to surround and kill the Emperor of the Demon-Winged Race. Little Purple. Watch carefully, support wherever there is danger. Gather all the void purple light snakes nearby and kill any that escape. Night Sorrow instructed Little Purple before he charged towards the Xiang Dragon. At this moment, in a battle between experts, the easiest outcome would be the Grand Elder's doppelganger attacking the Xiang Dragon. The Grand Elder was one of the 3 giants of the Celestial Realm's 100 Races Alliance. Although there might be a gap between him and the Tianhuang City Lord and King Yiwu, it was not that big of a gap. He had lived for 8 eras and was at least an 8 sovereign tribulation expert. The Xiang Dragon was completely incomparable to the Grand Elder. Xiang Dragon's main body was dodging and defending. He did not engage in battle while his doppelganger attacked the Grand Elder. Night Sorrow's first attack was a soul attack. He wanted to assist the Grand Elder in killing the Xiang Dragon. Although he could not tell the cultivation level of the Grand Elder and Yutian Mo, Night Sorrow could tell that the Grand Elder was at a disadvantage. If the Xiang Dragon was killed, the Grand Elder's main body and doppelganger would fuse together and the battle would be different. Night Sorrow's soul extinguishing slash was now extremely powerful and fast. It could even ignore energy defenses. No matter how strong the Xiang Dragon's protective chi shield and territory were, it could not stop the soul extinguishing slash from invading. The crescent moon blade of the soul extinguishing slash spun around the divine sea of the Xiang Dragon's true body, slicing away at the soul energy of the Xiang Dragon, allowing the illusions to be transmitted into the divine sea. This had a huge impact on the Xiang Dragon. Moments later, the Grand Elder's long spear pierced a hole through its body, and one of its left arms was blown off. Following that, the Grand Elder unleashed a violent spear strike. It was the ultimate spear art that he had been researching for many years. The space around the Xiang Dragon was sealed, and the Xiang Dragon felt like it was trapped in a quagmire. In a moment of panic, the Xiang Dragon's clone blocked the path of the Grand Elder's spear. With a muffled sound, the Grand Elder's spear pierced through the Xiang Dragon's incarnation, shattering it into pieces and turning it into a bloody mist. The energy trembled violently, and the effect of the Grand Elder's space confinement disappeared. The Xiang Dragon then charged towards Night Sorrow, as Night Sorrow's soul attack had greatly troubled him. Seeing the Xiang Dragon charging towards him, Night Sorrow immediately used the Void Steps and the space-time realm to evade the attack. He was no match for the Xiang Dragon, and he did not want to go head-to-head with the Xiang Dragon. The Grand Elder was initially worried that the Xiang Dragon would ignore his attacks and go all out to kill Night Sorrow. But when he saw Night Sorrow using his body movement and defensive arts, he was relieved. He could tell that Night Sorrow's ultimate art was very powerful, and this tactic was the most appropriate one. The battle continued fiercely, and the Devil-Winged Race's members were getting fewer and fewer. They were separated by the First Army's soldiers and the God-slaying squad. In the battle between Qin Chenjie and Zhi Yuan, Qin Chenjie was at a disadvantage, as Zhi Yuan's attacks were suppressed by Zhi Yuan. The difference between the two was not small. Zhi Yuan was much stronger than Qin Chenjie, but it would be difficult for him to defeat and kill Qin Qianjie quickly. This was because Qin Qianjie had a secret art that allowed him to teleport close to the main body and provide support to the main body. The clone could also avoid certain dangers. Knight Sorrow was dodging and defending, but he was constantly using his soul attack. Under such circumstances, the Xiang dragon could not withstand it. After blocking 2 of the Grand Elder's spear attacks, he was severely injured and was killed by the Grand Elder's 3rd spear attack. Seeing the Xiang dragon killed, Mo Yutian's expression changed. His body flashed, and he kept Mo Lu, who was being attacked by Lin Yun and the others. Then, he rushed towards Zhe Yuan. He knew that he could not win, so he planned to gather some members and leave. Mo Lu was one of the core members of the devil-winged race, so Mo Yutian had to save him. In addition, he also knew that he had to leave after this battle. After he released all of his energy, the devil-winged race's wheel of life and death was no longer effective. More importantly, he was on the Reincarnation Island, where the Grand Elder could find him. After Mo Lu was put away, the Grand Elder was furious. He attacked Mo Yutian together with his clone, not giving Mo Yutian a chance to get close to the others. At the same time, Mo Yutian was also at a disadvantage. He could not withstand the combined attacks of the Grand Elder and his clone. "Remember, the next time I see you, I will take your life." Mo Yutian, who was hit by the Grand Elder's spear, roared at the Grand Elder. Then, he flashed and left. It was meaningless for him to continue fighting. The Grand Elder and his clone were here to suppress him. If he continued fighting, he would be in danger. Mo Yutian could not fight anymore, but if he wanted to leave, he could still escape. As long as he got rid of the Grand Elder, it would be enough. The speed of the Grand Elder and his clone could not be stacked. Mo Yutian left, and the Grand Elder could not stop him. However, the other members of the devil-winged race were not so lucky. They were surrounded and killed by the soldiers of the First Army and the members of the God-slaying team. As for the other expert of the devil-winged race, Zhe Yuan, he could not escape either. He had been entangled by Qin Qianjie, and he could not kill Qin Qianjie. Now that the Grand Elder was free, only death awaited him. After the battle, Knight Sorrow ordered the cleanup of the battlefield. 8 permanent *6 exempt. 2 fee /e red novel /e. He ran away in the end, Knight Sorrow said as he looked in the direction Mo Yutian had left. If he doesn't fight to the death, it won't be easy to kill him. I already knew this. This time, it will be enough to force him away. Only the city lord and your martial uncle can kill him. I'm still a little lacking, the Grand Elder said. Let's destroy these array bases. Qin Qianjie said. There's no need for that. It's good for us to have one more stronghold. Later, we will set up the array according to our array. It will be a grand array that we will be in charge of. It won't be easy for the devil-winged race to break in, Knight Sorrow said after thinking for a while. The Grand Elder nodded. He also supported Knight Sorrow's idea. In the coming years, the 100 races of the Celestial Realm would rule the Reincarnation Island. Next, Knight Sorrow set up the array. Although Mo Yutian had cleared the area with his men, it would still take some time to set up the Grand Array. 2 days later, the Grand Elder told Knight Sorrow a piece of news. Mo Yutian's aura had disappeared, which meant that he had left the Reincarnation Island. Chapter 2023. Knight Sorrow felt that it was inappropriate, but he didn't say anything. It was not his place to talk about the Elder's rights and wrongs. The Grand Elder came to Knight Sorrow and asked, "What are you thinking about?" "Nothing." Knight Sorrow shook his head. "The timing is not good this time. There is no possibility of keeping him. Your uncle returned to the Yawur Royal Mountain to cultivate the soul unification, so he can't fight. The mayor is busy with other things and has no time to come." The Grand Elder said to Knight Sorrow. After cultivating for so many years, he could see Knight Sorrow's doubts even if Knight Sorrow didn't ask. "I'm sorry. Knight Sorrow shouldn't have thought too much. I shouldn't have questioned the decisions of the elders," Knight Sorrow said apologetically. "Haha. I'm glad that you saw it. There's nothing that can't be said about right and wrong. In fact, the result this time is very good. The leader of the dragon-headed people and the leader of the snake-headed people are powerful. In the war, there are not many people in the celestial realm who can restrain them. They will cause a lot of damage. It's good that we got rid of them, the Grand Elder said with a smile. Uncle and Lord Tran Hung are both busy. There's nothing we can do about it. Knight Sorrow knew that King Yawu was busy, but he didn't know that the mayor was also busy. The Grand Elder exhaled and said, "The mayor is under a lot of pressure." Then the Grand Elder told Knight Sorrow some unknown things. He didn't hide it from Knight Sorrow. The 100 races of the Celestial Realm and the Demon Wing race of the Deserted World had been fighting for the right to rule the Celestial Realm. This was the biggest conflict and contradiction. In addition to the Demon Wing race of the Deserted World, there were also some space worlds and races that wanted to rule. These space worlds were called extraterrestrial worlds, and they were also very powerful. Now the mayor was going to negotiate with these extraterrestrial worlds. If they could reach an agreement, then there would be nothing to say. If they couldn't, then there would be war. Strong enough to threaten the 100 tribes of the Celestial Realm? Knight Sorrow asked. Yes, they also appeared at the end of the previous cycle. Some of the masters of the 100 clans of the Celestial Realm fell at their hands. Therefore, the mayor didn't intend to give them a chance to jump around this time. Either we can talk about peaceful coexistence in the future, or we can't talk about it. If they have the intention to fight for hegemony, then we have to deal with them before the decisive battle with the Demon Wing clan. However, it's hard to say whether we can dig them all out. This matter is very difficult. The Grand Elder said. Knight Sorrow didn't ask any more questions because he realized that there were too many things he didn't know. The construction of the stronghold went smoothly. After the construction of the stronghold was completed, Knight Sorrow calmed down. Without the demon-winged clan on Samsara Island, the void purple light snakes did not attack the practitioners of the Celestial Realm. Therefore, the teams that went out to train were not in great danger. In addition, the environment of Samsara Island was harsh and the will of heaven and earth was strong. It was suitable for cultivation. The Grand Elder's original body and Qin Chenjie returned to the heavenly wasteland city. He directly held a meeting of the elders and reported to them what had happened on Samsara Island. "Well done," Emperor Tang said excitedly. "Not only well done, but also very domineering," Qin Chenjie said with a smile. Face. Knight Sorrow's matter made the elders of the human race feel very proud. The topic revolved around Knight Sorrow. Everyone was chatting about what had happened after Knight Sorrow's debut. "I think the spirit of his subordinates is very good. They have an indomitable spirit. The Heavenly Wasteland Army and even the Heavenly Wasteland City need this kind of spirit. I think it's more appropriate to put the 3 territories of Samsara Island under his command and let him lead them. Give them some time, and they will become a stronger force," the Grand Elder said. In fact, Qin Chenjie's concerns were unnecessary. None of the elders objected. They all supported the idea. "I was worried that you would be short-sighted and object. It seems that you are all very far-sighted," Qin Chenjie said. Forever G** read for free for a long time. Knight Sorrow is the human emperor of the human race. Everyone trusts his character. His cultivation speed is also unprecedented. At least in the history books, there are no records of anyone surpassing him. Such a person should be responsible. What's there to object? Bai Zixian of the Nine-Tailed Fox clan, who had not been in the Heavenly Wasteland City before and had recently become a resident, said. In fact, he is a person of virtue and prestige. It's just that he is too young, so it's a bit abrupt to use this word. In fact, being a person of virtue and prestige has nothing to do with being young, Tiger Cold's ancestor, the Tiger Clan Elder of the Council of Elders, said. It's still not easy to arrange. Our Heavenly Wasteland City is organized into captains, commanders, elders, and law enforcement elders. He is too young to be an elder, and it's a waste of his talent to be a commander, the Grand Elder said. In fact, he is the human emperor of the human race. Does he need commanders and elders to establish his position? He doesn't need them at all, Xiao Jun said. Indeed, he doesn't need them. But Commander Xiao, are you afraid? At that time, our leader was exiled to death, and today's situation wouldn't have happened. Who could control the void purple light snake and prevent the Demon Wing clan from landing on the Samsara Island? We really can't defend the Samsara Island, Pu Luo said. In fact, there's nothing to be afraid of. The City Lord said that he would come back safely from the Heavenly Wasteland after the prediction of the Great Prophecy Technique. Pu Luo, Knight Sorrow didn't care about this matter, but you can't forget it. Is it interesting? Xiao Jun glanced at Pu Luo and said. He felt guilty about Night Sorrow, but he did not regret it. Haha. It's not that I can't forget it. It's just a joke. Commander Xiao, don't you know me well? Pu Luo said with a smile. The Human Dao Alliance is doing well. I'm very envious of you. The Human Dao Alliance has been going through a lot these past few years. I'm sure I'm not the only one envious, everyone else is, said Xiao Jun. Some are envious, some are worried about being photographed, and some are even cursing. But I believe most of them are envious, Pu Luo said. He was a founding member of the Humanitarian League, and he was proud of it. That's because I'm old. I'll be laughed at if I go crazy with you. Otherwise, I'll try to join the Humanitarian League to punish evil and promote good, Qin Qianjie said with a smile. After the emergence of the Humanitarian League, all the forces in the Celestial Realm have become very self-disciplined. The atmosphere in the Celestial Realm has changed again. Everyone has to admit that this is a matter of great merit, Xiao Jun said. Xiao Jun's words received everyone's approval. Elder Xiao, let me ask you something. You have a deep grudge against Night Sorrow. Aren't you worried about being photographed? Even Yu Kuan was killed, Qin Qianjie said. I've never worried about this problem. Elder Qin, don't compare me with that traitor Yu Kuan. I've done some things wrong in the past, but I dare to say that I did it for the sake of the 100 tribes in the Celestial Realm. I dare to say that I have a clear conscience. Under such circumstances, how can the Humanitarian League, which punishes evil and promotes good, take revenge on me? Is there any justice in this world? Xiao Jun said. That's reasonable. Let's not talk about the way you do things. From the perspective of your starting point and standpoint, you really don't need to worry about these things. Emperor Tang nodded. He had a good personal relationship with Xiao Jun. Chapter 2024. When the Grand Elder arrived at the Heaven Wasteland Tower, the Golden Dragon King arrived with the dragons as well. Grand Elder, some of the dragons' problems have been solved. This king brought them all here because it's a critical time. The Golden Dragon King cupped his hands at the Grand Elder. The dragons behind him also bowed at the Grand Elder. In a few years, the dragons and the 100 races of the Celestial Realm might have some misunderstandings. However, it's not a big deal. When the time comes, we still have to fight side by side. The Grand Elder said. After that, the Grand Elder arranged for the dragons to be stationed in the Heaven Wasteland City. He then brought the Golden Dragon King, the Azure Dragon King, and the Black Dragons into the Heaven Wasteland Tower and continued the meeting. The Grand Elder first told the Golden Dragon King about the Reincarnation Island and some arrangements. Night Sorrow is a good boy. This king can rest assured with Dragon Gold and Dragon Language by his side. The Golden Dragon King said. I plan to let him be in charge of the entire Reincarnation Island. However, my doppelganger or your doppelganger, Golden Dragon King, must be stationed there. I'm worried that the Demon-Winged clan won't give up on the Reincarnation Island. The Grand Elder said. I've heard the name Night Sorrow many times. However, he's too young. Can he be in charge of the entire Reincarnation Island? The Azure Dragon King said. The Azure Dragon King was the strongest among the dragons other than the Golden Dragon King. However, he had suffered a loss at the hands of the Heaven Wasteland City's mayor, so he rarely came to the Heaven Wasteland City. This time, he was forcefully dragged here by the Golden Dragon King. He's very steady and is very good at strategy and tactics. He's currently the leader of a force. It won't be a problem for him to be in charge of the entire Reincarnation Island. The Grand Elder said. Since the Grand Elder said so, I will naturally believe him. The Azure Dragon King nodded. It's really not a problem. Mo Yutian and Mo Tianji of the Demon Wing clan have fought with him before, but they were always at a disadvantage in terms of momentum and results. You all know the two giants of the Demon Realm clan. It's hard to not suffer a loss in their hands, let alone gain the upper hand, the Grand Elder said. The Grand Elder has a lot of things to do. I'll go to Reincarnation Island and see how those little guys are doing. You haven't seen Yi Xing before. He's really something, the Golden Dragon King said. Night Sorrow's original body was cultivating while his doppelganger had nothing to do. Therefore, he guided the members of the First Army and the God-Slaying team in their cultivation. Night Sorrow was very strict. The members of the God-Slaying squad were very afraid of Night Sorrow during training and cultivation, including Yin Yan Xiao. The Grand Elder led a group of elders from the Council of Elders and the members of the dragons to the stronghold of the Demon Mountain. After another teleportation, they arrived at the new stronghold of the Broken Mountain. All of you, cultivate the new joint attack formation well. If you don't, you can't stop. Drink water? Drink tea? Endure it. Knight Sorrow roared at the members of the First Army and the God-slaying squad, who were cultivating the new joint attack formation. What's going on? Why are you all so angry? The Grand Elder led the group to the camping ground. This isn't the first time the First Army and the God-slaying squad have fought with the Demon Wing clan. They've even fought in front of Mo Yutian. They've definitely studied the joint attack formations they used in the past. Therefore, it's very necessary to cultivate the new joint attack formation. However, this group of idiots still can't comprehend the new joint attack formation I've just researched. This makes me very anxious because no one knows when the next war will break out. The more we sweat now, the less we bleed during the war. This will increase our chances of survival, Knight Sorrow said. Very good, that's how it should be. Boys, work hard. Learn from your commanders. The Golden Dragon King laughed and then kicked Long Jean. Can you be any more stupid? Even an idiot can see that. Uncle, you're an expert in formations. Are you an idiot? Long Jean was a little depressed. He really wasn't good at formations. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Knight Sorrow invited the group into the tent and brewed a pot of tea. I've seen the First Army before. They weren't so strong back then, but they're doing very well now, the Azure Dragon King said. The Grand Elder told Knight Sorrow about the Assembly of Elders plan. They intended to let Knight Sorrow be in charge of Reincarnation Island, and the Heaven Wasteland Army on Reincarnation Island would be under his command. Grand Elder, Knight Sorrow is young and not suitable to manage the Heaven Wasteland Army. It's good enough that he can lead the First Army. However, Grand Elder, don't worry, I'll do my job well and fulfill my responsibilities. Knight Sorrow didn't consider and directly refused. Power represented responsibility. Knight Sorrow felt that it was not suitable for him to do some things now. It was more important for him to improve his cultivation as soon as possible. Others can't even ask for such a thing. I want to recommend you to the Assembly of Elders, but your cultivation is currently the most important thing. You don't have time to manage these things, so there's no such arrangement. However, it won't be a problem for you to manage the Third Army. They all have their own commanders. You just have to give them some instructions, the Grand Elder said. Knight Sorrow didn't say anything. He really didn't want to accept such a thing. He really didn't want to. Kid, hurry up and accept it. If the human emperor doesn't take up the responsibility, who will? Don't worry and do it boldly. This king will stay here from now on. If anyone is dissatisfied or disobedient, this king will slap them, the Golden Dragon King said. Yes, everyone believes in you, Qin Chenjia also said. However, I have some things to say to the Third Army. Okay, I'll do my best. If not, it'll be the same as before. After looking at the elders in the tent, Knight Sorrow didn't refuse anymore. He had to give face to these elders, and he couldn't embarrass the Golden Dragon King. Emperor Tang brought the Heaven Wasteland Army of the Demon Mountain stronghold over, and gathered with the Heaven Wasteland Army of Broken Mountain. The Grand Elder brought the elders and Knight Sorrow to the front of the army. Today, I have some things to announce. From now on, Knight Sorrow will be in charge of the Samsara Island. The Third Army will be under Knight Sorrow's command, the Grand Elder announced. Then, Qin Chenjia took out Knight Sorrow's leg. Then I'll say a few words. Whether it's good or bad, don't mind it. Knight Sorrow exhaled and said, the people under my command are actually my brothers and sisters. If you want me to treat you as my brothers and sisters, I can't honestly say that I can't do it. If I lead you, I'll first follow orders and prohibitions. Before a decision is made, everyone can discuss it. Once a decision is made, it must be carried out, Knight Sorrow said to the Third Army of the Heaven Wasteland Army. Understood. The Third Army of the Heaven Wasteland Army replied. To be able to answer with the word, understood before I made any other promises, that's very rare. Knight Sorrow is very gratified, and I thank you for your trust. As a human and a member of the Celestial Realm's 100 races, I, Knight Sorrow, will do what I have to do. When I said that the First Army and the God-slaying squad are my brothers, I meant it from the bottom of my heart. In war I, Knight Sorrow, will treat everyone equally. The First Army will be treated the same as the Third Army. Knight Sorrow made his promise as a leader. Chapter 2025. Of course you can, but I'll say this first. If you want to cultivate, you should cultivate until you're good at it. Don't cultivate until you're half-baked. If you go out and expose your secret, you might even lose your life, Knight Sorrow said. After hearing Knight Sorrow's words, the three commanders knocked their weapons on their breastplates to acknowledge the order. They knew that there was a huge gap between them and the First Army. They also knew that there was originally a gap, but it was not as obvious as it was now. After Knight Sorrow appeared, the First Army had undergone earth-shattering changes. None of the three commanders in the Heaven Wasteland Army could fight against the First Army. Even if they joined forces, the three commanders did not have the confidence to fight against the First Army. If everyone has no problem, then I, Knight Sorrow, will naturally have no problem. Grand Elder, I'll take this job. Knight Sorrow turned to the Grand Elder and nodded. The Grand Elder nodded and then returned to the tent with the Golden Dragon King and the others. He conveyed the order. Knight Sorrow had successfully taken over, so he did not have to worry about the rest. Back then, when Knight Sorrow took over the First Army, he was worried. Today, Knight Sorrow took over the three commanders, so he was very relieved. The First Army will have 11 teams. The 1st and 11th teams will each guard 2 stations. The other 9 teams will be divided into 3 groups and temporarily be incorporated into the 3 commanders. They will cultivate the formation and attack together. I'll give you half a year. If you can't satisfy me in half a year, scram back to the Heaven Wasteland City. You're not soldiers under my command, Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow shouted to the Heaven Wasteland Army in front of him and then left. Some things could be left as long as he passed them on. As for why he did not assign the God-slaying team a task, Knight Sorrow had thought about it. The God-slaying team was friends with the soldiers of the First Army. They had fought together and received recognition, but they did not have much interaction with the 3 commanders. He was worried that they would not be recognized because of the difference in their cultivation. Knight Sorrow went to the big tent of the camp to report to the Grand Elder and the other elders. I told you, you brat. You don't have any problems. You're still trying to push me around. Anyone would want this opportunity. Being powerful is a symbol of strength, and having a lot of people under your command is also a symbol of strength. If you have a few Heaven Wasteland Army under your command, you can just flatten the entire family of whoever dares to mess with you, the Golden Dragon King said. Ahem. Knight Sorrow is the virtuous king. You can't teach him that. I don't know if it's right for you to stay on Reincarnation Island with Knight Sorrow, the Grand Elder said as he looked at the Golden Dragon King. It's the same whether he stays on Samsara Island or not. For the sake of the dragon language, he has no complaints about being banished to Heaven Wasteland. Acknowledging the dragon language as his sister and letting the dragon language marry grandly without suffering any grievances is giving us, the dragons, face. Our dragon race will always remember the kindness of others. Besides, who is the dragon language? I'm the crown princess of the Golden Dragon Clan, the princess of the Black Dragons. He is Long Jin's brother, which means he is this king's nephew. Therefore, Grand Elder, you also understand some things, the Golden Dragon King said. Commander Knight, I am the Black Dragons, Long Fei Shue. If you need anything, the Black Dragons will definitely be there, the Black Dragon Great Elder said. Thank you for your kindness, seniors. Long Jin and Long Yu, we fought side by side, and we've been through life and death together. Taking care of them is what I should do. Yi Shang cupped his hands toward the Golden Dragon King and Long Fei Shue. Generous. Grand Elder, you don't have to say. Even the Lord of Heaven Wasteland City isn't as generous. He has always put the interests of the human race first. He won't even let us be on the celestial demon list, Long Yixing said. Last time, he was taught a lesson by the Lord of Heaven Wasteland City. Long Yixing was very resentful. Knight Sorrow smiled. He also agreed with what Long Yixing said. Last time, when the Black Phoenix clan leader made a scene, the Lord of Heaven Wasteland City, Tran Hung, said that regardless of the overall situation of the celestial realm, he was a human. It was obvious that the interests of the human race were the most important. Why are you guys involved in the celestial demon list of the human race? If you have an idea, why don't you suggest to the Lord of Heaven Wasteland City to create an emperor list of the 100 Races Alliance? The Grand Elder glanced at Long Yixing. That's a good idea. Fame is the motivation of all cultivators. Who doesn't want to be famous? This king will discuss this matter with the Lord of Heaven Wasteland City later. The Golden Dragon King was more supportive of the Grand Elder's idea. The other elders of the 100 races also nodded. Only with competition would there be motivation. Yixing, Fei Xue, the natural environment of the Reincarnation Island is quite harsh, but it is also a good place to improve one's cultivation. In the future, when the descendants of the dragons become emperors, they will have to come to the Reincarnation Island to train for a few years. You guys decide the time. The Reincarnation battlefield will become the Reincarnation Island. The Celestial Realm will take this territory. The dragons will take it. The Golden Dragon King said to the Azure Dragon King and the Black Dragons. After chatting for a while, the Grand Elder left with the other elders. The Heaven Wasteland City needed to be guarded. They could not afford to be empty. After Long Yixing and Long Fei Xue arranged for their subordinates to deliver some news, the two of them also stayed on the Reincarnation Island. The people of the 3 divisions, the soldiers of the First Army, and the members of the God-slaying team were all cultivating hard every day. They were cultivating the new joint attack formation that Knight Sorrow had created based on his years of experience in the art of formations. Yishan also went to check. When he saw idiots, he would really scold them. He even used the blood-Qilin evil punishing spear's shaft to whip them. They were whipped until they didn't make a sound. This was because they knew this step was to increase their strength and increase their chances of survival. Listen up. You are all born and raised by your parents. You are all the treasures of your parents. Living well means being filial to your parents and elders. Living well means being filial to your parents. Living well means being filial to your parents. Living well means being responsible to your parents. Living well means being responsible to your parents. If you can't cultivate well in half a year, you are not suitable to fight under my command. Scram back to where you came from. After walking around the arena, Knight Sorrow scolded. Never be a scum. Never be a deserter. Never be a coward. The people of the 3 divisions responded to Knight Sorrow with angry roars. This kid is really good at deceiving people. In the main tent of the base, Long Yixing said to the Golden Dragon King. Nice words don't mean anything when they come out of your mouth. It has been a few eras, and the mayor of the city hasn't made anyone feel bad. Why is it that he doesn't like you? You should learn how to talk in the future. Knight Sorrow is not trying to deceive people. He is trying to understand what they care about. He is trying to put himself in their shoes. Do you understand? The Golden Dragon King threw a glare at Long Yixing. Long Yixing was slapped by the mayor of the city, and Golden Dragon King was not happy about it either. He felt embarrassed, but Long Yixing was really not a good person. Carat B unspecified currency Yong said, You are the leader of the dragons. You call the shots. Long Yixing turned around and looked to the side. Don't you know what you need to do right now? The Golden Dragon Clan has Long Jin, who is close to Knight Sorrow. The dragon language of the Black Dragons and Knight Sorrow are siblings. What about the Blue Dragons? He is the most dazzling human emperor in the past few eras. Why don't you build a good relationship with him? Are you stupid? The Golden Dragon King looked at Long Yixing and said angrily. Then I'll arrange a few good seedlings from the Azure Dragon tribe to stay by his side right now. Long Yixing immediately came to a realization after hearing the Golden Dragon King's words. Hurry up and do it. Also, you don't know the ways of the world. Just remember one thing. Whoever he doesn't like, you don't like them. Whoever he curses, you beat them. That's right. The Golden Dragon King said. Chapter 2026. Qin Qianjie felt a bit lucky. The Golden Dragon King had asked Long Yixing to ride on Knight Sorrow's coattails. If Long Yixing were to ride on someone else's coattails, the whole world would be in chaos. Long Yixing was famous for his coattails. Otherwise, he wouldn't have had a conflict with the city lord. He only listened to the Golden Dragon King, Long Batian. After thinking for a while, Qin Qianjie realized that Knight Sorrow's strength was terrifying. Among the 100 races in the Celestial Realm, perhaps only the 3 giants could compete with him. In the Celestial Realm, Other than the human race, the most powerful races were the mythical beasts. First, the dragons. If Night Sorrow was in trouble, the Golden Dragon King would definitely support him, and so would the Black and Cyan dragons. Secondly, the Bloodscale race. Chirue's family owed Night Sorrow a favor, and they were friends with Night Sorrow. If anyone messed with Night Sorrow, they would definitely stand on his side. The Cyan Rock race was the same. They were also friends with Night Sorrow. The descendants of the Nine-Tailed Fox race were all under Night Sorrow's command. If something really happened, the Nine-Tailed Fox race wouldn't hesitate to help. The situation between Night Sorrow and the Ice Phoenix race wasn't clear, but everyone knew that the new Ice Phoenix race Empress was close to Night Sorrow. They weren't blood relatives, but they were closer than blood relatives. Qin Chenjie knew about Wu Lingfei's situation in Star Moon City. The real giant of the Ice Phoenix race would solve this problem when they showed up. From a human's point of view, they wouldn't have any conflict with Night Sorrow. In the end, their relationship would be harmonious. The mythical beasts were powerful, and they were Night Sorrow's solid allies. However, they weren't Night Sorrow's strongest ally. Night Sorrow's strongest ally was the Divine Capital, one of the two cities in the Celestial Realm. Night Sorrow was the heir of the Divine Capital. Everyone in the Celestial Realm knew this. In addition, Night Sorrow had Star Moon City, the Chaos Realm, and the Humanitarian League. The Humanitarian League was a combination of several major forces. Its strength was recognized in the Celestial Realm. Look at the original unspecified currency. Version Chapter OU 1-inch. The general trend is set. He has accumulated such a strong foundation. Scary. After pondering for a while, Qin Chenjie muttered to himself. There were some things that he wouldn't feel if he didn't think about it. However, when he thought about it, he discovered some shocking information. With the Golden Dragon King's words, Long Yixing and Night Sorrow became much more enthusiastic. They often chatted with Night Sorrow about useful things. While Night Sorrow was a little puzzled, the Azure Dragons brought a few young juniors. They were 3 celestial emperors. Commander Knight, your subordinates are all elites. These guys are also elites. Can you take them in and let them work for the 100 races in the Celestial Realm? Long Yixing brought the Azure Dragon's elites to Night Sorrow's tent. Sure enough, Azure Dragon King. Your wine is poisonous. After drinking a few jars of your wine, I have to do something. Night Sorrow sighed and said, It's not like that. We drank wine because of friendship. It's different from the Azure Dragons juniors joining the Heaven Wasteland army to work for the 100 races in the Celestial Realm. Long Yixing said awkwardly. Then, Azure Dragon King, did you tell them about the rules of my subordinates? Night Sorrow thought for a while and asked. I did. If they don't follow the rules, you can skin them alive. I won't say anything. You have the final say. Long Yixing patted his chest and said. All right, follow me to the first place to report. Night Sorrow stood up and said. The wine is here. Let's come back and drink. Azure Dragon King took out a jar of wine and placed it on the table. Night Sorrow looked at the Azure Dragon's outstanding juniors. Although they were juniors, each of them had lived for more than 100,000 years. After joining the team, the first thing you have to do is to integrate. You are the elites of the Azure Dragons, but after joining the team, you have to lower your status and get along well with everyone. The more friends you have, the more exciting your life will be. Night Sorrow said to the 3 celestial emperors of the Azure Dragons. Leader, thank you for your advice. We have heard about you, so we feel honored to be your subordinates. Thank you for taking us in. A woman among the 3 celestial emperors said. She was Long Yixing's daughter, the princess of the Azure Dragons, Long Wei. She had told Long Yixing that she came here as an elite junior of the Azure Dragons. You are welcome. Since you are willing to serve the races of the Celestial Realm, I have no reason to keep you out. Let's work hard together. Night Sorrow nodded to Long Wei. When they arrived at the first army, Yi Shang handed Long Wei and the other 2 over to Zhuodong. He asked the team in the first army to take care of Long Wei and the other 2 during cultivation. After that, Night Sorrow and Long Yixing went back to their own tents. Night Sorrow, I thought you would arrange for them to go to the other 3 territories, but I didn't expect you would arrange for them to go to the first territory directly under your command. Thank you. Long Yixing cupped his hands at Night Sorrow. Azure Dragon King, I trust the elites you have chosen. Besides, I don't think it's appropriate to arrange for them to go to the other 3 territories. They will think that I have arranged for them to go to the first territory. Besides, I can see them at any time. That way, Azure Dragon King can rest assured. Night Sorrow said with a smile. The Azure Dragon King nodded. He was indeed happy. Originally, he had thought that Yi Shang would only arrange for Long Wei and the other 2 to join the other 3 great generals. He would not arrange for them to join the core First Army or the God-slaying squad. The peaceful days passed. Night Sorrow's true body was cultivating in the depths of the void vortex. He was comprehending at a high speed in the accelerated time. Sometimes, his children would take the teleportation array to Samsara Island to deliver tea to Night Sorrow. Sometimes, they would accompany their father and mother to drink. Night Sorrow suggested to the Council of Elders that the entire celestial realm should be hunted down for Mo Tianji. Mo Yutian returned to the Devil Imperial City and met with Mo Zhantian. His face was gloomy. The expedition to the Reincarnation Island had suffered a great loss. They only managed to bring back Mo Lu. Both Xiang Long and Sua Yuan, who had undergone the tribulation of 3 sovereigns, were left behind on the island. Seems like we have to change our strategy. If this continues, we will be at a disadvantage. Mo Zhantian said. If we can't fight them head-on, we will be restrained. I am preparing to go through the tribulation of 9 emperors. If I succeed, I will cultivate the soul and soul as one. Then we will be able to fight them head-on. Mo Yutian's eyes were filled with anger. He had never suffered a loss in so many years. He was one of the 3 great heavens of the demon-winged clan. This failure made him lose face. That's fine. If we can't fight them head-on, we will be in a passive position. I wonder how the heavenly concubine is doing. Mo Zhantian was more worried about Mo Tianji. Her path hasn't been smooth these years. I can't say for sure. I will go through the tribulation. When she returns, it will be the time for us to fight the 100 tribes of the celestial realm. Mo Yutian said. Chapter 2027. For a long time, in the war between Heaven Wasteland and Celestial Realm, Heaven Wasteland was in a passive position. They couldn't break through Heaven Wasteland City on the Nirvana Ocean Bridge and enter the Celestial Realm. When the Celestial Realm was at its peak, the 100 Race Alliance's cultivators once reached the core of Heaven Wasteland, but they couldn't break through the Devil Imperial City's defenses. Therefore, they couldn't win. In other words, the Demon Wing Race's defenses were stable. What they needed to do was to attack. Since they couldn't break through the Devil Imperial City, the Celestial Realm 100 Race Alliance could only rely on Heaven Wasteland City's defenses. This situation determined the situation. If Heaven Wasteland was strong and had a strong defense, they would naturally win the war. Therefore, the Celestial Realm 100 Race Alliance had always been the one who dared to fight head-on. However, because the Devil Imperial City changed the energy structure of Heaven Wasteland, the Demon Wing Race had the advantage. In these years, the Celestial Realm 100 Race Alliance didn't launch any attacks. Following the end of the war on Reincarnation Island, the situation stabilized and returned to its previous path. The difference for Night Sorrow was that he spent the first 700 years in a deep sleep. Now he was cultivating at a high speed. 4 years had passed in the real world and 100 years had passed in the time acceleration. Yi Shang's void attribute had reached the emperor rank. This meant that only Yi Shang's Wuji attribute was below 90% while the others were all above 90%, reaching the peak emperor rank. However, after 90% of the world's momentum was deduced and comprehended, the speed slowed down. That was because everything that could be absorbed and comprehended had already been comprehended. The remaining momentum of the world was very little, making it even harder to grasp and comprehend. The 3 divisions on Reincarnation Island were actually 4 divisions. This was because the first division and the God-slaying team were considered one division. These people had broken in very well, and they had also understood the array formation's joint attack. Yi Shang had told those who could not cultivate well to scram, but the people from the 4 divisions had all stayed. Everyone had worked hard and had not been chased away. Everyone also understood that Yi Shang's strictness was for their own good. Over the past 4 years, Samsara Island had also been flattened by the Heaven Wasteland Army of the 4th Command. They had conducted a thorough investigation without any blind spots and had set up teleportation formations in some areas. This meant that if a war broke out, The Heaven Wasteland Army of the 4th Command could rush to any part of Samsara Island at any time and start the war at any time. For Night Sorrow, 4 years of training had been quite fruitful. However, in the grand scheme of things, in the celestial realm, 4 years was nothing more than a grain of sand in the passage of time. Brother, come out and drink. Dragon Language went to Night Sorrow's tent and pulled Night Sorrow to the training field. At this moment, a large python was being roasted in the training field. You bunch of bastards. Look at what you've done to the training field. Night Sorrow said helplessly as he was pushed back into his seat by Dragon Language. Boss, just wait and eat. Stop scolding people. Long Nan pushed Night Sorrow to his seat. Long Nan was from the Azure Dragons, so he came to the first territory with Long Wei. I'm impressed. Where's the wine? Night Sorrow looked at Long Nan and asked. You'll have to ask Chief Steward Liu about this. She's in charge of the wine and resources, Long Nan said with a smile. He and the other troops on Samsara Island knew that Night Sorrow could not tolerate any mistakes when it came to training and fighting. He could even be said to be very strict. However, Night Sorrow was very casual in his life, and could even be said to have no principles. There were some things that Night Sorrow saw and did not see. You guys did well. Good, very good. Seeing that everyone was harmonious, Night Sorrow was also very happy. Night Sorrow had instilled the concept of relying on brothers in battle into the Heaven Wasteland Army of the 3rd Command. Therefore, a harmonious scene was what Night Sorrow wanted to see the most. Boss, there's no more fun on Samsara Island. When are you going to bring us to the Heaven Wasteland Mountain and fight our way to the Demon Imperial City? Flower Without Words looked at Night Sorrow and asked. Everyone looked at Flower Without Words with a hint of schadenfreude in their eyes, because Flower Without Words was asking for a scolding. Night Sorrow did not scold anyone. He lowered his head and thought for a moment before looking at Flower Without Words. It's good to have this idea. However, we're still too weak right now. I can't bring you guys to die, but we have to go. Then when are we going? Flower Without Words was so excited that his face turned red. Wait. We'll talk about it when we're strong enough. With our current strength, we'll be chopped up and roasted like this python. Night Sorrow glared at Flower Without Words. Flower Without Words didn't say anything because he knew that Night Sorrow would never bring his brothers to die. Little brat, you don't know anything. Come, Night Sorrow, let's drink. Long Yixing took a jar of wine and sat beside Night Sorrow. Everyone, let's drink. It's necessary to train hard, but it's also necessary to relax. Night Sorrow took out 2 large wine bowls and took the roasted meat that Dragon Language handed over. After eating, Night Sorrow left. Sister Yu, why haven't we seen the commander's main body? Long Wei looked at Dragon Language and asked. It's hard to see brother's main body. I can't even see my sisters-in-law because he's always in closed-door cultivation. Therefore, there's a huge gap between us. From what I know, my brother has reached the peak Emperor rank in 3 attributes. Dragon Language said. Amazing, that's really amazing. Peak Emperor rank in 3 attributes. 1,000 years old? The commander is 1,000 years old? Long Wei's face was full of shock. She knew that Night Sorrow was an Emperor rank, but she didn't expect Night Sorrow to be this powerful. Little girl, you don't understand. Don't you know what these 3 attributes mean? Long Jean, who was sitting beside Dragon Language, said. Then tell us. Let us know a bit about the commander. Long Wei asked. At the same time, many people gathered around. Everyone was very interested in Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow was too mysterious. After managing the other 3 commanders, Night Sorrow didn't fight, but his battle experiences were always spread among the 3 commanders, or rather the 4 commanders. Supreme Attributes. Captain's 2 supreme attributes are both at the peak Emperor rank. The 3rd attribute isn't simple either. It's the time and space attribute of 2 advanced attributes, also at the peak Emperor rank. This should satisfy your curiosity. I can easily crush you with any one of them, so hurry up and work hard on your cultivation, Longjin said. This is equivalent to 2 advanced attributes. Both supreme attributes are at the peak Emperor rank. This is too frightening. Long Wei's face was full of shock. I wonder when Captain's life and death attributes will be cultivated. Tian Yu muttered. He entered the Emperor rank 2 years ago and was an expert under Night Sorrow. The commander also cultivates the life and death attributes? More people interrupted. He didn't differentiate between life and death attributes a long time ago. After life and death attributes are fused, it's a limitless attribute. I don't know much about it, Tian Yu said. Chapter 2028. After returning to the tent, Knight Sorrow looked at the array diagram he had drawn and nodded in satisfaction. While his main body had been cultivating for the past 4 years, his clone had been studying array formations when he had nothing to do. His array Dao cultivation was now at the Emperor level. There was no news about Mo Tianji in the past few years, which was within Knight Sorrow's expectations. Mo Tianji had been dormant for more than 700 years after she was injured last time. This time, she would be dormant for a long time. Long Jin, Tian Yu, and Knight Sorrow's wives went to Knight Sorrow's tent. Why didn't you continue to drink with them? Knight Sorrow said after rolling up the array diagram. Brother 13, I have a big mouth. Everyone asked about you just now, so I told them a little, Tian Yu said. That's nothing. There's nothing that can't be told. We are upright people. There's nothing that can't be said. Knight Sorrow smiled. Tian Yu, you misunderstood me. I was thinking that Knight Sorrow could have more trump cards, Yonglei said. She knew that Tian Yu was a little embarrassed because of her interruption. Ninth senior sister, you are right. We should have some trump cards. Tian Yu nodded. Go ahead. Knight Sorrow patted Tian Yu's shoulder. He didn't care about these things at all. The people from the Human Dao Alliance often came to Reincarnation Island. They had nothing to do anyway, so when they had time, they would come and chat with Yishan. They were all friends who had fought together, so their friendship ran deep. Pu Luo told Knight Sorrow a piece of news. 1 year later, the Celestial Realm would hold a meeting of heroes. It would give the elites of the Celestial Realm a platform and a chance to stand out. The heroes competition was a competition between heroes. According to the cultivation level, it was divided into 4 levels, which meant that there were 4 lists. First there was the rank 8 King Realm cultivators. It was called the Single King list. The participants of this list could only be at the rank 8 cultivation level, which corresponded to the rank 8 King, King and Lord of Heaven. The next 3 rankings were the Heaven, Earth, and Mortal rankings. The Heaven, Earth, and Mortal rankings corresponded to the 3 stages of the Emperor Realm. Emperor Realm, Monarch Realm, and Emperor Realm. The human ranking was for the Imperial Realm. It was a competition between 1-star and 3-star Imperial Realm cultivators. The top 30 people on the human ranking would be rewarded by the elders of the 100 clans. The top 10 people could customize a weapon or armor. The bottom 20 people would also be rewarded with certain resources. The Earth ranking was a ranking that Imperial Lord-level cultivators competed for. It was also a ranking for the top 30. The rewards were more generous than the Man ranking because the custom-made weapons and armor were at the Imperial Lord level. The resources were also more generous than the Man ranking's rewards. The Heaven ranking was for the Emperor Realm cultivators to compete for. It was also for the 7-star Imperial Lord-level cultivators to compete for. After receiving this news, Knight Sorrow smiled. Not bad. It gives the cultivators a reason to work hard and give them a chance to stand out. Elder Lin and the Great Demon King are qualified, but they are not qualified to become Emperor Tribulation cultivators. Rue Si, Yu Zhu, and Fun Tian are all qualified. The only one from our Humanitarian League who can participate is you. Everyone agrees that since the Heaven ranking is out, our Humanitarian League has to take it. Pu Luo said with a smile. Okay, I understand. Knight Sorrow nodded. Pu Luo and the others wanted him to participate. Okay then. When the time comes, we will cheer for you. Pu Luo said. Now, the Humanitarian League was managed by Jun Xuanji and Pu Luo. After chatting with Pu Luo for a while and sending him off, Knight Sorrow went to the martial arts arena and beat the war drum twice. Following the beating of the war drum, the Heaven Wasteland army of Samsara Island gathered. Only a small portion of the Demon Mountain stronghold was not in position. Don't be nervous. There are no urgent orders, but there are missions. 1 year later, the 100 clans of the Celestial Realm will hold a meeting of heroes. What is the meeting of heroes? It is a gathering of the elites. Knight Sorrow explained the situation and rules of the meeting of heroes to his subordinates. Commander, Can we participate too? Long Nan asked. Yes. Now it's time for me to make a strategic request. Only the god-slaying squad will participate in the competition for the king ranking and the emperor ranking. When you go, you must finish drinking the first place of the king ranking and take back the first place of the emperor ranking. If you can't, I will ground you on Samsara Island. Chuyu, call Qingyan, Xiaolei, and Lingxi to the god-slaying squad. Night Sorrow looked at the god-slaying squad and said to Sikong Chuyu. Yes. The members of the god-slaying squad knocked on their breastplates. We are from the chaotic domain, but this time, the god-slaying squad of the Heaven Wasteland Army will be participating in the battle, Night Sorrow said again. After briefing the god-slaying squad, Night Sorrow looked at the other members of the Heaven Wasteland Army and said, the first place of the Earth ranking will also belong to the Samsara Island. If you can't get half of the 30 places, you will be grounded for 100 years. The Heaven Wasteland Army is made up of elites, so we will use the Emperor ranking to prove it. Yes. No one felt that Night Sorrow's request was unreasonable. Instead, they were very excited to hear Night Sorrow's words. Everyone has been working hard to cultivate, but what can prove that we have worked hard? What can prove that our hard work is useful? This meeting of heroes is a chance to prove it. The Heaven ranking. The three of you, as well as the other Emperor Realm members, work hard. I don't ask for much, as long as you can get 3 places on the Heaven ranking, Night Sorrow said and turned to leave. Everyone, work hard. Being grounded for 100 years isn't a big punishment, but it's embarrassing. Can we afford to be embarrassed? Shi Cheng, one of the 3 commanders of the Heaven Wasteland Army, said. Luckily, the great commander didn't ask us to get the first place of the Heaven ranking. That would be terrible, Nan Yong, another commander said. Are you stupid or what? Will the great commander participate? If he participates, will he ask us to get the first place of the Heaven ranking? Shi Cheng looked at Nan Yong and shook his head helplessly. At this moment, Shi Cheng came to a realization. He then looked at the first leader and the god-slaying team. We can't do anything about the king ranking and human ranking. It's up to you guys. If you fail, you will have to bear the wrath of the great leader. The consequences will be severe. The mission is heavy and the pressure is great. I sympathize with you guys, Shi Cheng said. In the following days of cultivation, Night Sorrow strengthened some people. For example, speed, strength, soul attack, defense, etc. Shi Cheng, Nan Yong and Song Jingang benefited a lot. Song Jingang was the other commander of the Heaven Wasteland Army. After strengthening the Emperor Realm members of the Reincarnation Island, Night Sorrow left, leaving behind Nan Yong, Shi Cheng, Song Jingang, Long Jin, Tianyu and the others. Lin Yun was also rubbing her shoulders. Strength. This strength is too scary. Let's work together. Is the great commander playing with us? Nan Yong said as he rubbed his lame leg. Chapter 2029. Human Emperor. The great commander is a human emperor. Once he fully matures, he will be the pillar of the 100 Race Alliance. How can we compare to him? Nan Yong muttered. This isn't a reason. He is more hardworking than us. I have to admit this. Lin Yun said. Lin Yun, you have to take a spot this time. There is still a gap between us and you. Song Jingang looked at Lin Yun and said. When the Blood Qilin Mountain was attacked by Long Zhe, Lin Yun was a peak 8-star emperor. However, she had been there for a long time and had accumulated a lot. Later on, she entered the Blood Qilin Mountain race to cultivate and entered the peak emperor rank. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Night Sorrow had strict requirements for the members of the god-slaying team, especially Yi Lingxi. Night Sorrow would strengthen her combat cultivation every day. Concubine Chu Yu, my father is too strict. During the break, Yi Lingxi said. A treasured sword's edge is sharpened. If you want fame and fortune, this is your chance. You have to grasp it. Soul Destruction / Afterimage Body, Time Vibration Wave, Spatial Revolving Dragon Kill, and Time Realm. Night Sorrow drank a mouthful of tea and looked at Yi Lingxi. He felt that Yi Lingxi had more hope in the King Realm contest. Father, don't worry. Lingxi won't disappoint you. Yi Lingxi bowed. Don't feel pressured. Just do your best. Night Sorrow nodded at his son. While they were talking, Datura and Yi Xiaoluo arrived. "Father, I want to participate too," Yi Xiaoluo said. "It's fine if you want to participate. However, as a 2-star emperor, you will be at a disadvantage. You will be at a disadvantage in the battle for the human ranking list. Your brother is a heaven monarch and is at the peak of the 8th rank. Hence I called your brother here," said Yi Shang. "Being 1 level lower is a disadvantage, but it doesn't mean there is no chance. I plan to give it a try," Yi Xiaoluo said. "Father, I don't know about 4th brother situation after he reached the Imperial Realm. Before the Imperial Realm, he was able to fight against people of a higher realm," Yi Qingyan said. She and Yi Xiaolei had already withdrawn from the meeting of heroes. They were more outstanding, but Knight Sorrow felt that it was not enough. Knight Sorrow nodded in agreement. Yi Xiaoluo's potential was the highest among his children. He also believed in Yi Xiaoluo. He placed the 8-dragon cauldron in the encampment and told the artifact spirit that it was open for everyone to enter, to help everyone speed up the cultivation of their combat abilities. Long Jin, Tianyu, and Yi Mei bid farewell to Knight Sorrow and left. They were going back to the clan to cultivate and increase their strength. The Golden Dragon King's clone left with Long Jin and the Dragon language because he was the only senior in the Golden Dragon clan. Knight Sorrow guided his 2 sons, the Emperor of the Heaven Wasteland Army, and the members of the God-slaying team to cultivate their combat abilities every day. After half a year, Knight Sorrow's destruction attribute reached 91%. According to the normal course, Knight Sorrow could undergo the heavenly tribulation. However, if he did, he would not be able to participate in the meeting of the 100 races in the celestial realm. After thinking for a while, Knight Sorrow gave up on the idea of undergoing the heavenly tribulation. It was mainly because of his conversation with Qin Qianjie that Knight Sorrow decided on this idea. Qin Qianjie told Knight Sorrow that if the 100 Races Alliance wanted to be stable, they had to have a core. Currently, apart from the human race, no other race could do this. It was very important to stabilize the human race's position. Qin Qianjie did not know about Knight Sorrow's situation. She only told him her thoughts based on the current situation, because she knew that in this meeting of heroes, the Heaven Wasteland army of the 4 armies of the Samsara Island would perform well. Since there was nothing else, Knight Sorrow refined weapons and armor for Yin Yanxiao, Yi Lingxi, and Yi Xiaoluo. "Brother, you're cheating," Yin Yanxiao said after trying out the weapons. "This is soft power. Don't tell me that we don't use weapons or protective treasures to fight." Knight Sorrow smiled. He had refined weapons, armor, and soul defensive treasures for his family. In the past, Knight Sorrow could not refine soul defensive treasures mainly because he did not have an inheritance. Now, he could refine them because his cultivation in the Tao of formations had improved. He used his own ideas to imitate the Green Lotus Jade Bracelet. The principle and structure were all based on the Green Lotus Jade Bracelet. "My thinking was too extreme." Yin Yanxiao nodded after hearing Knight Sorrow's words. "Cultivate diligently. We don't need those rewards, but we need fame, because it's a way to increase our luck," Knight Sorrow said. "Father, what about you?" Yi Qingyan pulled Knight Sorrow's arm and asked. "If it wasn't for this meeting of heroes, I would have gone to attempt the Heavenly Law Emperor Tribulation right now. For this matter, I'll have to wait for another half a year." Knight Sorrow smiled. "Heavenly Law Emperor Tribulation. Brother, are you crazy?" Yin Yanxiao looked at Knight Sorrow in astonishment. In the past, the Yi clan's level was low, so they did not come into contact with many things. However, the Yi clan was different now. Other than the guidance given by Knight Sorrow, the 3 commanders of the Heaven Wasteland Army also gave guidance to the members of the God-slaying squad. "It's all right. You should work harder too. Look at Tianyu, you're lagging behind by a lot," Knight Sorrow said as he patted his sister's shoulder. Although he could not attempt the Heavenly Law Emperor Tribulation, it did not affect his cultivation too much. Knight Sorrow's original body continued to cultivate his comprehension of the Heavenly Law. Time passed steadily. Knight Sorrow, who did not feel tired in the past, now felt tired. He was really not good at cultivating the Wuxia attribute, so his progress was very slow. Knight Sorrow felt that if he wanted to have achievements in the Wuxia attribute, he really needed time to accumulate and settle down, bit by bit. In the blink of an eye, a year's time was coming to an end. Lu Qi came to inform Night Sorrow that the meeting of heroes was about to begin. He first expressed his gratitude to Lu Qi, thanking him for guarding Star Moon City. Night Sorrow, we've known each other for a long time. Aren't you embarrassed by thanking me like this? There were a few things that happened, and I didn't manage to keep watch. Lu Qi sighed. Don't say that. 7th Clan Elder. It's true that there were some mistakes, but under Mo Tianji's scheming, it's enough to keep Star Moon City safe and my family safe. Night Sorrow said. We don't have to be polite. Make the arrangements and head to Heaven Desolate City. Don't let the first place of the Heaven leaderboard fall into the hands of others. Lu Qi said to Night Sorrow, his voice a little soft at the end. After Lu Qi left, Night Sorrow gathered the Heaven Desolate army. Nan Yong, Shi Cheng, Song Jingang. You guys go and discuss this. Leave 1/3 of the army to guard Reincarnation Island, and the rest to return to Heaven Desolate City. Also, go and negotiate with the Heaven Desolate army around the First Army's encampment, and change the encampment. After instructing Night Sorrow, he went to the Golden Dragon King's tent. This king is already clear about the situation. This king's clone is here, so there won't be any problems. You have to work hard. The dragons won't be able to do much in this meeting of heroes, so it's up to you. The Golden Dragon King said. Chapter 2030. Don't underestimate the other races of the Celestial Realm. It isn't easy for emperors to fight above their ranks. You guys should set off. This king will bring his dragon gold body and dragon language and set off from Dragon Island. The Golden Dragon King said. All right, I'll bring Little Purple to Heaven Desolate City. I'll know what's going on in Reincarnation Island and we'll rush back. Night Sorrow nodded at the Golden Dragon King and left the tent. He kept the 8-dragon cauldron and returned from the Void Whirlpool to merge with his clone. This year's meeting of heroes had a rule that only the original body could fight. Clones weren't allowed. If clones fought and killed randomly, it was easy for problems to occur. Because of the rule, Night Sorrow's original body ended his cultivation. Night Sorrow's true body was dressed differently from his avatar. In front of others, his avatar looked more refined. His robes and hair were neat and tidy. However, the original body was different. The original body's aura was very strong. His loose robes were rippling from the aura. In order to feel the feeling of stepping on the ground, Night Sorrow didn't wear battle boots and his hair was untidy. Set off. Night Sorrow stepped onto the teleportation array. What's the situation? Why is the Great Commander's aura so strong? Seeing Night Sorrow's figure disappear into the teleportation array, Nan Yong let out a sigh of relief. They are both peak emperors, but the difference is too big. Even Emperor Tribulation cultivators aren't this strong. Who on the heaven list can compete with him? Shi Cheng patted Nan Yong's shoulder. Song Jingang nodded. They knew that in this meeting of heroes, no one could compete with Night Sorrow. Anyone who tried to fight him would be asking for a beating. Hey, do you guys think that Dong Zhenyue will participate in the meeting of heroes? He used to flaunt his strength and said that he wanted to challenge Sect Elder Lin and the Great Demon King. His tone is so arrogant. Nan Yong waved his hand to let the Heaven Desolate army start the teleportation and asked Shi Cheng and Song Jingang at the same time. That idiot. I don't know. We have learned a lot from the Grand Commander. If he dares to participate, let's teach him a lesson, Shi Cheng said. The encampment of the First Army is relatively close to the encampment of Dong Zhenyue's subordinates. The three of us went there to ask for a change. If he refused, we would kill him and his subordinates. Did he think he could scare people just because he had the backing of the Great Guardian's cousin? We also have backers. The Grand Commander isn't afraid of trouble. He even dared to kill Yu Kuan, so why would he be afraid of the Grand Protector? Nan Yong said. Song Jingang and Shi Cheng nodded. In the past, they had been angered by Dong Zhenyue, but because they couldn't afford to offend him, they endured it. Now that the three of them were under Night Sorrow's command, they trusted him. Night Sorrow didn't care about any background. They knew his style very well. After returning to the Infinite Wasteland City, Night Sorrow took his wife and children to his mansion. After making arrangements for his family, Night Sorrow went to the Infinite Wasteland Tower and cupped his hands. At this moment, energy suddenly appeared and wrapped around Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow was stunned for a moment, but he didn't resist. He only came to show his respect to the origin of the celestial realm. Night Sorrow went to the infinite wasteland space, and the origin of the celestial realm appeared. Night Sorrow greets the universe sovereign. Night Sorrow cupped his hands towards the origin of the celestial realm. You are welcome. You are the realm lord of the 9 domains world, and you will be the realm lord of the supreme world in the future. You don't have to be polite with me. Sit. A chair appeared behind Night Sorrow. It's okay. Recently, some problems have appeared one after another. I need time to accumulate them. There is still an era left in this reincarnation. I hope there is enough time, Night Sorrow said. It will be enough. You are the person with the most prosperous fate in the celestial realm over thousands of reincarnations. You don't just have the fate of the celestial realm, you also have the fate of the celestial realm in the 9 domains world. This is unparalleled. In addition, you have cultivated your virtue and become the virtuous emperor. Therefore, even if the road ahead is bumpy, it will be smooth. The origin of the celestial realm sat down and said, I will work hard. I must ensure the stability of the 9 domains world. I promised the universe sovereign that I will guard the celestial realm for a period of time. I will do my best to do so, Night Sorrow said. You can do it. If you have any problems, you can come to me. Helping you is also helping myself. Therefore I will not be stingy. The origin of the celestial realm said. At this moment, in the Grand Elder's small space world, Tran Hung and the Grand Elder were drinking tea. Night Sorrow entered the Wasteland Tower. The Universe Sovereign invited him in. The Universe Sovereign thinks highly of him. Tran Hung said. That's a good thing, said the Grand Elder. We've lived for a long time, and even in the Great War of the last reincarnation, the World Sovereign never showed his face. However, in recent days, he has shown up a few times, all for Night Sorrow. Actually, I am very puzzled. In the past reincarnations, why is there no genius who can compare with Night Sorrow? The speed of his rise in 1,000 years is simply unimaginable. Even if he is the Merit Emperor now, it is only a matter of time before he becomes the Merit Emperor. Tran Hung shook his head and said, Let's not talk about this anymore. This year's meeting of heroes is about to begin. City Lord, you should preside over it. The Grand Elder said. Okay. Originally, the Celestial Demon List was to encourage human cultivators. Now that other races are also interested, let's do it. Do you think they can do it? Do you think they can snatch the first place? Tran Hung snorted. The Grand Elder smiled. He knew that in Tran Hung's heart, the stability of the celestial realm was important. The development of the human race was also equally important. Night Sorrow and the origin of the celestial realm conversed for a while before arriving at the Grand Elder's small space world. Sit. Our reincarnation island's great commander has returned. It's not easy. The Grand Elder said with a smile. Grand Elder, you're exaggerating. Night Sorrow said as he sat down. The Heaven Wasteland army of the reincarnation island has returned. I've seen it. It's different. Indeed, it's different. 3 generals. If only there were 30 generals. The Grand Elder sighed. Don't. Grand Elder, please don't make any other arrangements. I'm already too busy with my own matters. Night Sorrow was stunned for a moment before he hurriedly said. Haha. Let's just let nature take its course. Now that you've returned, I won't say or ask about other matters. However, you've taken the first place of the heavenly list. You've reached the Emperor's tribulation level. Tran Hung observed Night Sorrow as he spoke and saw Night Sorrow's cultivation level. Yes. Half a year ago, I planned to undergo the Heavenly Law Emperor's tribulation. However, I didn't go because the meeting of heroes was imminent. I plan to undergo the tribulation after the meeting of heroes. After that, it doesn't matter if I'm still on the heavenly list. I can't stop improving just because of this ranking. Night Sorrow said. The arrangement is reasonable and your thoughts are correct. Take the heavenly list first. As for the ranking, it's only temporary. During this period, no matter how much you improve, as long as you're not defeated by a challenger, your ranking will not change. Tran Hung explained to Night Sorrow. UF version 70,000 first release. Haha. Night Sorrow, you can occupy it first. Relax and occupy it for a period of time. After the meeting of heroes, Seize the opportunity to undergo the tribulation and directly rush forward. Raise your cultivation level. The Grand Elder nodded at Night Sorrow. Chapter 2031. That's fine. If I don't get killed, I'll keep occupying it. Night Sorrow laughed. Killed? You have no confidence in yourself. The Grand Elder shook his head helplessly. He knew that Night Sorrow was joking because no one in the Emperor realm was stronger than Night Sorrow. As for the future and the speed of improvement, they believed that only Night Sorrow could catch up to others. It was almost impossible for others to catch up to Night Sorrow. Then, the Tran Hung asked Night Sorrow about his cultivation. I did encounter some problems. The other attributes are fine, but the infinity attribute isn't very compatible with me. My cultivation speed is a little slow, said Night Sorrow. Infinity attribute. I'm fine with that. I'm stuck with the space-time attribute and it's not compatible. How many years has it been? 8 eras. It's almost the 9th era. I've been grinding my space-time attribute, but I still haven't made any progress. I've also mastered the reincarnation attribute. After so many years, the space-time attribute is still at the Emperor realm. Here are some of my cultivation experiences. Take a look and see my understanding of the infinity attribute. The Tran Hung took out a book and handed it to Night Sorrow. Holding the book, Night Sorrow hesitated. City Lord, this isn't appropriate. What's not appropriate? We humans must rise. On this point, all of us humans must work hard, said the Tran Hung. Simple. Night Sorrow, just write down your experience and feelings of cultivating the space-time attribute for the City Lord, the Grand Elder said with a smile. Night Sorrow nodded and stood up. I didn't prepare for this. Night Sorrow will come to see the City Lord and the Grand Elder later. After greeting them, Night Sorrow left. After returning to his residence, Night Sorrow took out a pen and paper, and then wrote down his understanding and comprehension of the space-time attribute. He also wrote down the situation of the destruction attribute. Cultivation experience was an inheritance. Only cultivators who had been cultivating for a long time or cultivators whose future was uncertain would consider passing it down. Night Sorrow was still young, and it could even be said that the path of cultivation had only been opened for a short period of time. He had not considered these things before, so now he had to write them down. Night Sorrow wrote it very carefully. This was a form of respect for his own cultivation and his Tao. So serious? Have some tea first. Lin Piaomiao poured a cup of tea for Night Sorrow. Sikong Chuyu and the rest also sat by the side. You have to be serious about this. You can't be careless, Night Sorrow said as he stretched his waist. As he wrote down his thoughts, Yishan asked about his son's situation. Father, my second and fourth brothers are both Emperor Realm cultivators. They are unable to participate in the Rank 8 King Realm and King Ranking competition. I will leave the first place in the Yi family. Yi Lingxi was full of confidence. He was very talented, and he had been cultivating Night Sorrow's battle technique recently. I don't have any advantage in the Emperor realm. In fact, I might even be at a disadvantage. However, this is not the most important reason for victory or defeat. I am also confident. Yi Xiaoluo also patted his chest. Yi Xiaoxi, you are always boisterous with us. If you dare to drop the ball at a crucial moment, I will crush you to death. Yi Qingyan looked at Yi Xiaoluo and said, Big sister, don't worry. I am also a peak 2-star Emperor Realm cultivator. I am only a little bit weaker than a 3-star Emperor Realm cultivator. The difference is not that big. What matters is actual combat strength. Yi Xiaoluo hugged Yi Qingyan's arm and smiled. How are the effects of the void steps in space-time realm? Night Sorrow asked Yi Xiaoluo after putting away his pen. It is already done. However, it is still a little lacking. Yi Xiaoluo nodded seriously. Yi Xiaoluo was born with the space and death attributes. His time attribute was a little weaker. However, when he was in the King Realm, he used the space attribute as his theme and comprehended the space-time attribute. Therefore, he was able to cultivate the void steps in space-time realm. Mastery of the flames requires time. It is not something that can be achieved in a short period of time. In addition, you all must remember that the battle technique that I have researched and imparted to you all is most suitable for me. After you learn it, you must use it as a reference and add in your own understanding. You must make it your own. Knight Sorrow said. This was what King Yawu and the Grand Elder had told him. He also had the awareness in this aspect. Therefore, he reminded his children so that they would not take the wrong path. Father, the battle technique that you imparted can be changed? Yi Lingxi looked at Knight Sorrow in surprise. Why not? You are not stupid. Don't you have your own thoughts and understanding? Knight Sorrow glanced at them. They feel that what you say and research is definitely correct and perfect. Sikong Chuyu said. Father, who are you? How would we dare to think of changing your battle technique? Yi Xiaoluo said softly. Equals 0s first y first, stupid. Your father's battle technique will not be wrong. However, it is your father's and not yours. Use it as a reference. Do you understand? You are infuriating. Lin Piaomiao slapped the back of Yi Xiaoluo's head. Mistress Piaomiao, please don't hit us. We have never thought of it. We need to slowly accept it. Yi Xiaoluo smiled at Lin Piaomiao. In the Yi family, no one was an outsider, and no one treated them as outsiders. Yi Shang's wives all treated the children as their own children and educated them. You deserve it. You are asking for a beating. I have explained it so clearly, but you still do not understand. How did I give birth to such an idiot like you? Datura gave Yi Xiaoluo another kick. Yi Xiaoluo did not make a sound. If he made a sound, the entire family would teach him a lesson. Let's not talk about it. I am also conflicted. I hope that you will achieve something, but I don't want you to feel pressured. Knight Sorrow said. Father, we understand your thoughts and attitude. You don't have to worry. We understand that you care for us. Using the words of my grandparents, they say that you dote on us. Yi Qingyan said. Standing up, Knight Sorrow smiled. You are all sensible. I am truly blessed to have you children. Work hard. Knight Sorrow gave a thumbs up to his children and left with his wives. Originally, I was very scared and did not dare to speak to father. Father's reputation is too great. However, it seems that he is much easier to communicate with than my parents. Qin Ziyin said. Yi Yujun patted his wife's shoulder. Father did not spend much time with us. He has been working hard to give us a stable life. He has been working hard for the stability of the Nine Domains world and for the Primal Chaos realm. Actually, I am not talking about father's achievements. In terms of himself, he is a great father and a very soft-hearted father. This time we have to do well. The meeting of heroes is the time to let the various races in the celestial realm know about our Yi family. Yi Xiaoxi, Yi Xiaowu, if you too dare to fail, I will not forgive you. Look at my face. I am serious. Yi Qingyan stared at her two brothers and said. Chapter 2032. Yi Qingyan was the big sister and loved her younger brothers and sisters very much. She usually liked to joke around, but when she was serious, her younger brothers and sisters would listen to her. My cultivation is not good enough, so I'll have to trouble you too. Yi Qingyan nodded at her two younger brothers. Big sister, don't worry. Yi Xiaoluo smiled and pulled Yi Qingyan to sit down. Yi Xiaoxi, your smile is too cheap. I wonder who will like your cheap face in the future. Yi Qingyan sat down and said. Big sister, I'm not happy to hear that. Everyone I know says that I'm very sunny. Yi Xiaoluo mumbled. After returning to the heavenly desolate city, Yi Shang walked around and visited the people he knew. Then, he went to the divine capital. After exiting the teleportation array and looking at Yawu Mountain, Knight Sorrow pondered for a moment and did not go there. King Yawu might be cultivating in seclusion. Knight Sorrow went to the Humanitarian League's headquarters. Jun Xuanji and Zhu Jiuyun were very happy to see Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow was the realm lord of 9 regions world and their backbone in the celestial realm. Shiryu also appeared and cupped her fists to greet Knight Sorrow. King Yawu left Reincarnation Island and went to the City Lord's mansion to announce Yi Shang as the young City Lord of the godly capital. It was much more formal than before, so anyone who belonged to the godly capital had to greet Yi Shang. Uncle Shiryu, why are you so polite? Knight Sorrow nodded to Jun Xuanji and Zhu Jiuyun and asked Shiryu to sit down. I'm not being polite. This is the rule of Shendu. Young City Lord hasn't come back for a long time, Shiryu said after sitting down. Night Sorrow has been busy cultivating. Also, Reincarnation Island needs someone to guard it. Night Sorrow took the tea from Jun Xuanji and handed it to Shiryu. Young City Lord is very promising and charming. This is good, Shiryu said with a smile. While chatting, Night Sorrow told Shiryu about Mo Tianji's situation. He believed that if Mo Tianji were to make a move in the future, there was a high chance that she would attack Jun Xuanji and Zhu Jiuyun. Don't worry, young City Lord. There won't be any problems here. Shiryu also understood the connection and importance between them. There's no need to guard the ethereal empire's Night Moon Manor. Uncle Shiryu is too busy, Night Sorrow said after thinking for a while. He felt that it wasn't very appropriate to occupy Shiryu's main body and clone. Young master, you don't have to worry. I'm doing very well in the Night Moon Villa. It's quiet and peaceful, a peaceful place in a chaotic world. There aren't many places in the celestial realm that are more suitable for cultivation than the Night Moon Villa. Shiryu said with a smile. She knew what Night Sorrow was thinking, which led to such an arrangement. After that, Shiryu went to the lotus pond that he couldn't catch no matter how hard he tried. Keep an eye on the fish, Night Sorrow said to Jun Xuanji with a smile. That lotus pond is now under Juyun's care. Haha. Jun Xuanji glanced at Zhu Juyun and said. 9 Original Y Initial V Release. Night Sorrow told Jun Xuanji and Zhu Juyun that the two of them had to be careful in their daily lives. They had to limit their activities in the divine capital and had to be accompanied by Shiryu whenever they went out. After leaving the divine capital, the two of them could only go to the heavenly desolate city, ethereal city, and star moon city. They couldn't go to other regions. Night Sorrow was worried about their safety because Mo Tianji's strength had a lot to do with them. If the two of them were captured and Mo Tianji used all kinds of methods to possess them, the consequences would be unimaginable. Knowing that Night Sorrow was doing this for their own good, Jun Xuanji and Zhu Jiuyun both nodded. While they were chatting, the other members of the Humanitarian League who were notified by Jun Xuanji arrived at the headquarters of the Humanitarian League. Night Sorrow, what's the difference between now and when you were exiled to the heavenly desolate region? What's the point of lying on the Reincarnation Island? Yu Zhu, who was sitting opposite Night Sorrow, asked. How can it be the same? When I was exiled, I was a rebel of the celestial realm. Now, I'm under the orders of the heavenly desolate region's city lord and the Grand Elder, Night Sorrow said with a smile. Yu Zhu, you don't understand. From the perspective of the 100 Races Alliance, Night Sorrow isn't a sect elder. However, he's already an exiled warlord. His actual power and status are above ordinary sect elders. When Night Sorrow returns from the Reincarnation Island, it's reasonable that he'll be promoted, Pu Luo said. That's true. Human Emperor. He'll definitely be promoted in the 100 Races Alliance. I didn't think in that direction. Yu Zhu understood after hearing Pu Luo's words. The path of the Alliance leader may have been planned by the heavenly desolate region's city lord, King Yawu, and the Grand Elder. Now, he's a warlord. When the heaven-ranking battle is over, his prestige will be unparalleled. It'll be reasonable for him to be promoted. If the other races of the celestial realm want to object, they'll have to shut up, Ruiz said. After so many years, he's only become a sect elder after working so hard. Night Sorrow is flying. Why do I feel like this is a trap? The great demon king looked at the people present and then at Night Sorrow. What's the key to being promoted in the heavenly desolate region and the 100 Races Alliance? It's reputation, trust, and then strength. Great demon king, you have the strength, but can you make the elders of the Council of Elders feel at ease? They've been worried that you'll cause trouble. I'm already surprised and shocked that you've made it this far, Pu Luo said. They're blind if they don't believe me, the Great Demon King scolded. Great Demon King, you're now the successor of the Grand Elder of the Elders. Aren't you satisfied? If others hear you, they'll be disappointed, Lin Piao said. I'm just chatting and talking about their style. Am I someone who doesn't know what's good for me? I understand. I used to dislike the elders because of Wuji, Yu Kuan, and the others. I respect the other elders, the Great Demon King said. Night Sorrow asked about the Humanitarian League. Haha, if you ask who's the most irresponsible person in the Humanitarian League, it's naturally you, the leader. You know too little about the Humanitarian League. You don't even know as much as any of the elders in the Humanitarian League. Let me tell you, the Humanitarian League is a first-rate force in the celestial realm. We have the ability to fight with any force to the end. Of course, we lack top-notch experts. If we have top-notch experts, we can easily flatten any race, including the Divine Beast race, Reese said. There were 7 elders in the Humanitarian League. However, Fan Tion's subordinates were from the fairies' capital. He didn't have much territory, while the other 6 had their own territories. Time. The emergence of an expert is accompanied by a lot of time, Night Sorrow nodded. Yi Shang. There are guests in Heavenly Desolate City. The Great Elder brought them to our mansion. Lin Piaomiao's original body had accompanied Yi Shang, while her clone was in Heavenly Desolate City. Who is it? Night Sorrow asked. At this moment, the Grand Elder brought a man and a woman to Night Sorrow's residence in the Heavenly Desolate region. Piaomiao, inform Night Sorrow that the Ice Phoenix race's Spirit Emperor and Heavenly Astral King are here, the Grand Elder said to Lin Piaomiao's clone. Chapter 2033. After receiving the news from Lin Piaomiao, Night Sorrow stood up. They are here for my Auntie Faye's matter. I will go back and see how to deal with it. Soon after, Night Sorrow returned to the Heaven Wasteland City. After exiting the teleportation array, he looked at the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda. Night Sorrow arrived in front of the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda. This time, the origin of the celestial realm did not appear. Night Sorrow told the guard that he wanted to see the city master. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Tran Hung appeared. When Night Sorrow arrived in front of the Heaven Wasteland Tower, Tran Hung already knew. He did not know what Night Sorrow wanted to do, so he did not appear. After confirming that Night Sorrow wanted to see him, he came out of the cultivation space. X initial Q initial, Castellan. This is Night Sorrow's enlightenment. I hope it will be helpful to you. Night Sorrow took out his cultivation experience and handed it to Tran Hung. Tran Hung looked at Night Sorrow and said, Back in Ethereal City, we agreed that you would just call me brother. Why are you changing your mind now? In the future, when we drink tea, you are the elder brother. In the Heavenly Desolate City, you are the Castellan. But now, Night Sorrow has something to deal with. Night Sorrow cupped his hands at Tran Hung. The Ice Phoenix Clan's Spirit Emperor and the Heavenly Astral King are reasonable people. Of course, we won't accept any grievances. Go. Tran Hung nodded at Night Sorrow. At this moment, the Heavenly Astral King, who was sitting in Night Sorrow's residence and chatting with the Grand Elder, paused. His innate talent was the power of the soul. He detected the conversation between Night Sorrow and Tran Hung. Grand Elder, it seems that you and the City Master value Night Sorrow very much. Of course. I won't hide it from the two of you. Yi Shang is the virtuous Merit Emperor, the human emperor of this cycle. We can't overlook this just because he's young. The Great Elder nodded. I originally hoped that the Grand Elder would talk to him. Now there is no hope. We can only deal with it ourselves. The Heavenly Astral King took a sip of tea and smiled. Night Sorrow returned to the residence. When he reached the main hall, he cupped his hands at the Heavenly Astral King and the Spirit Emperor, who stood up. Night Sorrow greets the 2 seniors of the Ice Phoenix clan. He is indeed extraordinary. He looks talented and handsome. It is not appropriate to describe him. The Spirit Emperor, who was wearing a blue dress, nodded at Night Sorrow. I didn't know that the 2 seniors would come. Please take a seat. Night Sorrow went to the empty main seat and sat down. He was the host, so he naturally sat in the main seat. He wasn't reserved just because the other party had a powerful background. Night Sorrow, we will get straight to the point. We thank you for standing up for our precious daughter and not letting her suffer, the Heavenly Astral King said to Night Sorrow. The 2 seniors are too polite. I was once separated from my family. Other than Father Gu, who raised me, Aunt Faye is my first family. I will not let her suffer any grievances as long as I am alive. This is my promise and also an oath. Last time, when the Ice Phoenix clan's Elder Qin came to pick her up, she made a promise. I also believed her and agreed to let Aunt Faye return to the Ice Phoenix clan. But in reality, they actually forced my Aunt Faye to do something she didn't want to do. So I can't tolerate it. At this point, The smile on Night Sorrow's face disappeared because the actions of the Ice Phoenix clan's elder assembly had touched her bottom line. Night Sorrow, we can understand your feelings and we are also very grateful. We are your Aunt Faye's parents. When we didn't fulfill our responsibilities as parents, she had you as her backing. We are very gratified in our hearts. The Ice Phoenix clan's Spirit Emperor stood up and cupped her hands at Night Sorrow. Lord Spirit Emperor is too polite. I didn't let Aunt Faye go back not to make things difficult for anyone, but because I was worried and didn't believe the promises of those elders. But since the two seniors are here, I let her go. I am also a son and a father. I understand the hearts of parents. No matter how much I do my best, it is not as good as the love of parents for their children, Night Sorrow said. At this moment, the Spirit Emperor turned her head and wiped the corners of her eyes. Then she looked at Night Sorrow. Thank you. Let's not talk about the Ice Phoenix clan. The two of us owe you a big favor. You are too polite. Then I will go and bring Aunt Faye over. Night Sorrow stood up. Let's go together. The Heavenly Astral King stood up and patted his emotional wife's shoulder at the same time. This matter has been resolved satisfactorily. This seat is also relieved. The Grand Elder said. Grand Elder has troubled you. The Spirit Emperor nodded at the Grand Elder. Night Sorrow took the Ice Phoenix clan's Spirit Emperor and the Heavenly Astral King to the ethereal Imperial City through the teleportation array. In the Night Moon Villa, they saw Wu Lingfei. Seeing the mother and daughter hugging each other, Night Sorrow also felt relieved. With the appearance of the Heavenly Astral King and the Spirit Emperor, Wu Lingfei would no longer be wronged. Night Sorrow, who originally wanted to invite the Heavenly Astral King and the Spirit Emperor to a banquet, gave up the idea. After letting Datura arrange the reception, he left. He wanted to give Wu Lingfei and her parents some space. Datura naturally understood what Night Sorrow meant. After arranging a guest room for Wu Lingfei's family, he did not disturb them. This Night Sorrow is really amazing. He has a cultivation close to the Emperor Tribulation at such a young age. The main thing is that his character and courage are very strong. The Spirit Emperor's evaluation of Night Sorrow was very high. That's right. No matter what the motive is, the Elders Guild has gone overboard this time. This matter needs to be dealt with. The Heavenly Astral King said. Okay, then don't go back. It's not easy for our family to be reunited. The Spirit Emperor said. I'm not going back. It's difficult to calm down in this chaotic world. You have abdicated, and it's appropriate for me to come back. The Heavenly Astral King nodded. The Ice Phoenix clan was a divine beast clan. The clan rules were more troublesome. Moreover, the Ice Phoenix clan's bloodline was all outstanding women. Therefore, the Ice Phoenix clan's emperor was a woman. The clan leader's husband was usually a protector. He was usually not in the clan. This was a restriction in the clan rules. After the current Ice Phoenix clan emperor abdicated, this restriction disappeared. Daughter, don't blame your parents. Because the Ice Phoenix clan is going to rise, some arrangements have been made. The other divine beast clans have also made the same arrangements. The Spirit Emperor said. Wu Lingfei nodded. She did not dislike her parents. She was just dissatisfied with the Elders Guild. As for the Elders Guild's problem, we will help you solve it. Your mother has been in seclusion and does not manage the clan's affairs. They really want to go to heaven. The Heavenly Astral King was a little angry when he thought of his daughter being forced to stay in the clan. Yi Shang returned to the Heavenly Desolate City and continued to guide his children in cultivation. Now that the matter of Wu Lingfei had been resolved, he felt relieved. Father. Today, I went to the God-slaying team to see Uncle Long Jin and Uncle Tianyu. They said that many experts from the 100 Races Alliance came. They are all elites. Yi Qingyan said. Elites. Who can come to Tianhuang City is not an elite. But generation after generation, how many of them are left? Night Sorrow drank a mouthful of water and said, the meeting of heroes is just a competition. In reality, when a true elite rises, there are piles of bones under their feet. Lin Piaomiao said, although I don't want to say it, looking back now, my hands are also covered in blood. There are piles of bones under my feet. Night Sorrow's gaze was a little distant. Chapter 2034. 13. I won't deny that many people have fallen under your spear over the years. Is there anyone who didn't deserve to die? Aoi looked at Night Sorrow. 6 Senior sister, you think too much. Do you think that I will feel guilty and have inner demons? I have walked the path with a clear conscience. I've killed a lot of people, but almost all of them died on the path of death. Although some of them might not have done anything wrong, they were on the opposing side. They had no choice but to be killed on the battlefield. That was fate, said Yishan. Night Sorrow calmed down and drank tea with his wife. Sometimes, he would go out of the city gate and walk on the Nirvana Ocean Bridge to feel the path he had walked. Night Sorrow knew that one day, he would walk this path again and follow it to Heaven Wasteland. In the past, the city gate was often opened because the Heaven Wasteland army had come here. It was the order of the Assembly of Elders to use Night Sorrow's bloody path to awaken the blood in everyone's hearts. However, after Night Sorrow came, no one went near him. Many people knew that Night Sorrow was the main character of that bloody battle. To the cultivators of Heaven Wasteland City, a battle between an emperor might not mean much. However, that battle didn't focus on cultivation, but on spirit and courage. It was a kind of courage and spirit to fight to the end. When Yishang was here, no one dared to approach him out of respect. When Night Sorrow came, no one went near him. However, there were more people watching from afar because they realized that Night Sorrow standing on the Nirvana Ocean Bridge was a spear that could pierce the heavens. That kind of intent was beneficial to everyone's cultivation. No matter what attribute or secret technique they cultivated, they would all have different feelings. Originally, he was just walking around casually. However, Night Sorrow had a different feeling when he came here. He could always think of that battle. Night Sorrow felt like he had returned to the past. He recalled the battle back then. In this state, he felt that his mental state was very good. He wanted to find this feeling. Night Sorrow, your current situation is actually a path of cultivation. I can sense that everything around you will be affected by you, including the essence, energy, and soul of other cultivators. The 9 regions origin body communicated with Night Sorrow. I feel it too. It feels very comfortable. It feels like the release of my soul. I don't know what's going on. Night Sorrow closed his eyes and searched for the feeling. At this time, Tran Hung, who was standing in front of a window in the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda, was thinking. Others might not know, but he knew Night Sorrow's state, which was very rare. Often, he would stand there for half a day and only leave at Night Sorrow. Furthermore, he would come every day. Originally, there were still people who came to watch, but at some point, the gate of Nirvana City had been sealed. Only Night Sorrow could go out. The others could only walk on the city wall at most. On this day, Night Sorrow came back from the Nirvana Ocean Bridge and met Tran Hung. Tran Hung brought Night Sorrow to the gate of Nirvana City. How do you feel coming here every day? Tran Hung asked Night Sorrow. I don't know. I just feel very comfortable. Also, I feel that there are some changes in my body. My soul power is increasing rapidly, Night Sorrow said. This is a state where one's comprehension of the force of heaven and earth has reached perfection. This is a state that can only be entered when one cultivates the Emperor's tribulation. It is a state that one can only enter in their dreams. Before the Emperor's tribulation, saints and saint kings cultivate the laws. Kings, sovereigns, and lords of heaven cultivate the will of heaven and earth. Of course, lords of heaven's will of heaven and earth has reached perfection. Sovereigns, emperors, and emperors cultivate the force of heaven and earth. Those who cultivate the Emperor's tribulation also cultivate the force of heaven and earth. However, after reaching perfection in the force of heaven and earth and entering the Emperor's tribulation, you will no longer have to comprehend the force of heaven and earth. Instead, you will have to unlock your own treasures and strengthen your soul, Tran Hung explained to Night Sorrow. My comprehension of the force of heaven and earth is still very far away from the Emperor's tribulation. How did I enter this state? Night Sorrow was stunned. There were many things that he didn't understand. At first, I was very puzzled by your state of cultivation because it shouldn't have existed. Later, I came here to understand and deduce the reason. Back then when you were fighting here, the battle was too intense. You were too immersed in it, so your soul scattered into the void. Because of the Nirvana storm and other factors, it actually merged with the force of heaven and earth and became one. That's why you can enter this state in advance, Tran Hung explained. Is this a good thing or a bad thing? Yi Shang asked. He was worried that haste would make waste, and that they were now on a path they shouldn't have taken. It's a good thing. It's very good. It doesn't conflict with your current cultivation. It's not that the Emperor's tribulation can't enter the state, it's because the force of heaven and earth hasn't reached perfection, so you can't comprehend it. However, I suggest that you focus on comprehending the force of heaven and earth. After all, it's the most important path for you right now, Tranhung said. Tranhung left, and Knight Sorrow looked at the Nirvana Ocean Bridge in a daze. He didn't expect this situation. After returning to the mansion and drinking tea with his family, Knight Sorrow was a little absent-minded. He didn't expect to walk on another path, a path that he had stepped on in advance. While Knight Sorrow was absent-minded, Wu Lingfei, Huang Ling, and the Heavenly Astral King arrived at Knight Sorrow's mansion. Knight Sorrow, why are you so absent-minded? Wu Lingfei greeted Knight Sorrow, who was standing at the door of the hall. Although Yi Shang had welcomed them, that was only after they had entered the mansion. They had already noticed Yi Shang's absent-minded state outside the mansion. Auntie Fei, I was thinking about something just now and got distracted. Seniors, I'm sorry for the neglect. Knight Sorrow cupped his hands at Huang Ling and the Heavenly Astral King. At this moment, the Heavenly Astral King looked at Knight Sorrow with confusion in his eyes, but he still nodded in return. Lin Piaomiao, who was standing beside Knight Sorrow, invited them into the main hall of the mansion. She made tea and received the guests. Knight Sorrow, I've already informed Huang Yu and the others. They went against the promise that the Ice Phoenix clan made to you. They must apologize. Keeping promises isn't just a virtue of the human race. All cultivators should take it seriously, Huang Ling said. As long as Auntie Fei is doing well, this isn't important, Knight Sorrow said after being stunned for a moment. It's very important. You have to keep your word. I don't want the Ice Phoenix clan to become unbearable in your eyes. Also, many of our Ice Phoenix clan's clansmen are participating in this heroes' meeting. Don't let them lose too badly, Huang Yu said with a smile. I will. Knight Sorrow nodded. /Knight Sorrow, based on your temper in the past, you wouldn't have agreed because you respect your opponents and your past efforts. Wu Lingfei's eyes were a little surprised. Auntie Fei, I was young back then and was stubborn. Moreover, I'm just making the battle less embarrassing, not changing the outcome, Knight Sorrow said. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.